All right. Hello, everyone. Today we're joined by Merryweather. Woo! Oh, this has been a long time coming. At least for me, it's been a long time coming. I've been super excited about it. But everyone say hi to Mary. And I hope you all treat him nice. Make sure you check out his stuff on YouTube, Twitter, and Twitch. But we have the doggo himself here. And even though we're a cat, we're live dogging on YouTube. Go ahead and say hi, Mary.
Oh.
Meow. You barking at me?
Hello there, Raelice. How are you today, my dear sir? I hope you're having a lovely day. Thank you very much for bringing me on your stream over here in the alternate world of YouTube.
I'm so happy to have you. We got a lot of fun stuff to talk about today, and
Absolutely.
I know a lot of people here are super excited to see talk about you and talk about all the work you've been doing, and especially all the juicy lore that we like to share here. But
sure, I'm happy to talk about it.
So, but before we get into a bunch of questions, why don't you go ahead and tell everyone about I think a lot of people in the chat are very familiar with your works with shoujo, but you do a lot of other stuff. So why don't you go ahead and share with them all the amazing things you already do?
Well, my name is Merryweather, but you call me Mary. Most people just call me Mary because Merryweather is kind of a mouthful if you want to say it every single time. Merryweather, Merryweather, Merryweather. Also, Merryweather sounds like that company from GTA 5, unfortunately. But my name is Mary, and I am the CEO and head writer of Merryweather Media, which is a Japanese company, a Japanese-based art studio that create many different comics, particularly on Webtoon. We have created comics such as Winter Moon, Everywhere Nowhere, Clinic of Horrors, Steam Dragon Express, Stalker X Stalker, Internet Explorer Chan, Fox Girls Better, Goth Girl and the Jock, and many, many, many other comics. And that's what we've been doing. We also have a YouTube channel called Merryweather Media, and we work with a lot of really great artists. And we also have a VTubing division, which consists of myself and LOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOO do.
So much stuff. I've really been enjoying the new voice acted comics that you've been putting out on the Merryweather media channel. You've gotten a lot of fun talents on there. It's I don't know.
You mean
always,
the English dubs?
Yeah, the English dubs. Wait, are there more dubs?
There's the main channel is Japanese dubs. That's the one with a million subs. We recently created a small new channel which is for English dubs with kind of like Starcast. So we got Sid Snap and Gigok to do voices, and we got Iron Mouse and Sayu to do voices, and we're having another one which is voiced by Nyanas and Iron Mouse, which is coming up soon.
Oh, that's super exciting. I'm a little ashamed to admit that I haven't seen the main channel.
Oh, you should. It's very popular.
Yeah, I've seen all the English ones, but I hadn't seen all the Japanese ones. Though.
Oh, I mean the English channel isn't very popular right now. It's getting it's getting there, but the Japanese channel is the one where all the views are at.
Yeah. Awesome. Also, you mentioned something that I don't think a lot of people necessarily knew, that your company is a Japanese-based company.
Yes, we are based out of Japan and Singapore.
You used to live in Japan, right? Do you still live there? Or
I'm meant to, but when COVID happened, I fled to Denmark because I got scared. I got cold feet, and I was like, where do I rather want to be if a pandemic goes out? Denmark, where everyone has free healthcare, or Japan, a country where I barely speak the language? So I decided, you know what? Until I can figure out how hardcore this COVID thing is, I should probably go back to Denmark for a few months. Then I went back, stayed with my mom, and then Japan closed immediately after I went back. Haven't been able to go back since.
I think. What do you think about that?
For 2 years.
What do you think about that decision? I know I've got a couple friends who live in Japan, and they've.
It kind of sucks.
Yeah.
It's not very nice. Japan always takes every opportunity they can to be isolationists, which isn't a very good idea because it's destroying the economy right now. But the politicians over there, they would rather get the boomer votes because the boomers are the ones that are the majority of the population due to the low birth rates. So they would rather just, keep being voted in and deal with the consequences of such an action.
They've recently opened up their borders a little bit more, though, haven't they?
Yeah. They're opening this month fully, but now I've got obligations. Like I've said yes to the European conventions and stuff like that. So I'll go back. We'll just see when that exactly will be. We'll see.
Makes sense. Makes sense.
Mm-hmm.
But at least the option is there now. So it's good that you can go back. But
yes.
So I've always been a little bit curious, and I know some of the chat members have as well. How did Merryweather Media get started? Like,
it's a long story.
We got time.
All right. I'll tell you kind of a medium version of it. So Merryweather Media started in many, many years ago. Well, technically, I've been going under the name Merryweather since 2012, but I've been actively making comics.
Couldn't think of a question,
since
but
about
I wanted
2014.
to say that I loved the
in
true
2012, I
angel
started out
flashes in the
wanting to
IFRS
write
Law video.
novels, light novels, but people didn't want to read them. So I switched to. I was at an anime convention. It was in like 2013, 2012, 2013-ish. And I approached an artist named Joachim Waller. Well, actually, I approached a girl sitting next to him. I approached a girl sitting at an artist alley. And the reason why I approached her is because I was at this anime convention and there was nothing for me to do. I had nothing to contribute to this environment. I really, really wanted to be part of this anime fandom environment. People were cosplaying, caramel dance and Death Note cosplay vibes. The jig.
Yes.
Old anime conventions. I really, really desperately wanted to be part of this environment because I'd never been in a place with so many people who shared my interest. But I wasn't a gamer, I wasn't a cosplayer, and I really didn't have the best social skills, and I wasn't an artist. So I thought to myself, you know what? How can I make for myself something that I can, how can I make for myself a living within, right? Maybe not even a living, just like a spot for me within this community of anime fans. And I immediately jumped to, well, I like to write, and for the longest time I've been realizing that people don't want to read my novels; they would rather read manga. So how about I get an artist to draw him into a manga? And so I approached a lady who I saw who had decent artwork, pretty good artwork at the time. Yeah. Approached her and I said, "Hi, do you want to draw my manga?" And can you guess what she said?
No.
Yeah.
Because I've done the same thing.
Oh, you did? Oh my goodness. Oh my goodness. You did? That's interesting.
I've at many different times in my life try to do different creative things that are based on writing. There are certain fan fictions that technically exist on the internet that none of you will ever find, but they exist.
Nice.
I've tried to get people to do art for things like that, and some other more like custom and personal, unique ideas, and getting said no to a lot is well, it's more common than not. At least for me.
Yeah. Yes, 100%. I mean, she said no. She went on a long tirade about how she'd gone to Japan and they'd like she'd pitched to Shonen Jump, but basically like, fuck off, kid. Like, who are you? Nothing. No one. Why should I draw your comic when I could draw my own? With fair point. Why would she? It's fair enough to say no. So that's where most teenagers would be kind of like, oh, that was a little bit cringe. That was a little bit embarrassing. Maybe I should take a step back. Maybe I should reevaluate. Not me. Zero self evaluation involved here. So I took one step to the left and asked the guy sitting next to her.
I have to respect that.
Oh, thank you. I've done a lot of weird bullshit to get ahead. Like one time I was at Comitia in Japan, and I approached every single artist sitting at a booth, every single artist whose art I felt was good, and I showed them my Twitter, and I asked them for their Twitter, and asked them if they want to be Twitter mutuals. No, it worked on like 80% of them.
Really?
Yeah, that's how I met Lam, Ollie's mom. Ollie and Vox's mom. That's how I met Lam. That's how I became friends with him. I just approached his artist alley table in at committee, and I told him, "Hey, you want to be friends?"
I don't know if I could do that.
I did it to a lot of people. It's
I
a little bit cringe in retrospect, but you gotta bleed for the for the networking. You gotta be willing to have awkward encounters if you want to make interesting friends.
I mean, I'm brave online, but in person, I wouldn't say I'm like necessarily reserved. Well, I am very reserved. That's a straight up lie. But I can talk to anyone on the internet and it's fine. But like in person, it's more about just me not wanting to be a bother to you. I don't know what it is, but like it's not that I'm scared of talking to you. It's just like I think that you probably have better things to do than talk to me.
Oh, I feel the same all the time with all of my people, with all of my friends. Like, there's many situations where I'm like, do I really want to be messaging Vox right now? Is he going to start getting annoyed at me? He's probably got better things to do. But then at the end of the day, I'm just like, you know what, Mary? The only difference between you and people who talk to Vox is that the people who talk to Vox talk to Vox. So I talk to Vox. I mean, even if it's stupid bullshit.
That's one of the reasons why I originally reached out to you. I was like, I was like, I have something I really want to talk to Mary about. Screw it, we're sending the DM. Let's go.
well, I liked your videos. They're very nice.
I'm actually so glad that you enjoyed them because I'm always terrified when I make videos about other people. I try and be respectful and like not just straight up copy like scenes from the video or things like that because I very much respect the sheer volume of work that you and the team of artists have put in. It's actually also one of the reasons why most of them are shorts, so they're not like competing with you on like regular VOD views. But
no,
like,
it's fine.
I'm always terrified because like I hope I did the person or people that are in the video justice.
So you absolutely did.
Well, I'm super happy to hear that.
But yes, so 2012, I approached the artist alley table of a gentleman named Joachim Waller after having just been rejected to the lady sitting right next to him, meaning he could have heard it. He definitely heard it. So I approached him and I said, "Do you want to draw my manga?" And you know what he says?
I'm going to guess no again.
Close.
But maybe yes.
He said, "Yeah, maybe one day." So obviously that's a no, right?
Yeah.
That is a no. Well, I didn't think it was a no. I heard maybe one day. So I kept sending him scripts for the next 9 months until he said yes.
9 months of scripts before he finally said yes. That is dedication. But
yes,
I mean, obviously it paid off.
Yes. He's the artist of all VShojo lore videos now. That's him.
Yeah, I did know that because okay, this might be a little embarrassing to admit, but screw it, we're doing it. So when you did your stream with Aethel, going over all the VShojo lore videos, I may or may not have downloaded that whole thing and timestamped it so I could reference it later.
Nice.
But that was part of the thing is like I really wanted as many people to hear like your story of how you got people to work with because it really is a nice inspirational thing of like the only thing that's really stopping you from working with the people that you want to is not reaching out. Like the worst thing they can say is no, and then you maybe just keep asking or move on.
100%. Like I used to write up 500 DeviantArt notes. Like I just copy pasted DeviantArt notes to every single artist I could see on DeviantArt. Like statistically, someone has to say yes to me.
Exactly.
It's like, "Hey guys, I've got $100. Who wants to do a manga?" Like 2014 DeviantArt sent 500 people. There's no limitation on DeviantArt to how many notes you can send. Like notes were private messages, so I just sent to everyone, And then like 5 would say yes, and then maybe 2 of them would follow through, and then of the 2, only 1 of them would be willing to continue. And that's how I got artists most of the time back in the day. Yes.
Cast a wide net and you'll catch at least one fish, right?
Yes, pretty much. But yeah, that's how I created comics for the longest time. But I didn't have a lot of money, so I started out. I scrounged and saved and asked my parents for money for the longest time, until I could like afford one 50-page comic, and that would cost me like $3,000. Now, that is actually not a lot of money nowadays. When it comes to a 50-panel one-shot, most artists would ask you for more now. Of the good ones, most of them would ask you for more now. But back then, art was actually quite cheap, because you didn't have something like a VTuber community massively inflating the price of art.
Isn't
Which
that
is
the
funny.
truth?
I mean, I am a big believer in the free market basically moving its own. Like something being in demand a lot raises the price. Totally normal. And luckily, I started back before that happened. But yeah. So I scrunched and saved, and I did like 50-panel one-shots here and there and here and there. But I realized, you know what? I can't do 50-panel one-shots, get 700 views on it, and then move on to the next. It's way too much of an investment. So I decided, you know what? I'm going to do 4-panel comics instead. So I did 4-panel comics for a while, and then suddenly something happened. Everyone suddenly started switching. Well, this website called Webtoon came out, and people were kind of like, oh, okay, Webtoon, you can upload your comics there. Back then, we were running on something called mangamagazine.net with like a few thousand average readers monthly. That's what we were running on back then, that or DeviantArt. Nothing was really like well made in terms of publishing your own comics. So yeah, Webtoon came out, and I remember a lot of us uploaded our comics to Webtoon. I didn't really expect anything of it, so I just uploaded it and left it. A few weeks later, I noticed that a lot of people were coming to my Twitter and asking me like, "Hey, where's the new update?" And I'm like, "What do you mean? I've been uploading the new update. What do you mean, where's the new update?" Oh, they mean on Webtoon. Went to go check Webtoon. I had 5,000 subs, which was a lot back then for a webcomic. You got to understand. And I was like, no one else. This didn't really happen to anyone else from mangamagazine.net. I wonder why it happened to me. So I noticed, Webtoon. It appears to be a mobile app. And then I realized everyone's reading on mobile. Everyone's reading on their smartphone. And my comics, in an effort to save money, had turned into Lucky Star-esque 4-panel comics, which was perfect for smartphones.
The stars aligned.
Yes, the stars aligned. Healthy dose of luck. And these comics were magically, in an attempt to save money, I had created something that was perfect for smartphones. And the other people's comics were all made for desktop. They were all made like traditional manga pages in black and white. Mine were in color, and they were, horizontal, which could be read on smartphones. So my comics started out getting a lot of popularity, but of course I needed more if I was to make it. So I found out, okay, everyone's reading on manga piracy sites. No one wants to read on places like Webtoon and stuff when they can read like One Piece on a manga piracy site for free. How do the manga piracy sites find their content? Well, they find their content by basically scouring the internet with these like bots and taking it from fan translation sites called scanlation sites. It's the place where people scan raws and then fans translate them. And so I was like, well, can I upload on a fan translation site? Turns out it's pretty easy. You just message the mods and say, hey, I'm a new circle. I want to upload this raw I found. And they're like, yeah, go ahead. And I upload the raw, pretend it's a Japanese manga, put it on the Japanese tag, pretend I had translated it. And then lo and behold, it gets stolen by all the manga piracy sites in the world and get put up as a brand new Japanese manga series that just started. Oh my, promoted on the front page next to the new issue of One Piece. My, oh my, millions of views. Pretty poggers. And of course, lo and behold, I had made a little bit of a trick. I had put my Twitter URL at the end of the comic. The bots couldn't tell anyway that what was a Twitter URL and what wasn't. So I did that for a little bit, and then everything kind of exploded in popularity. Then I started doing a lot of social media content that could be easily shared, Internet Explorer chan and stuff like that. And then one day I got a call I started earning money because we started a Patreon. Then one day I got a call from my bank, and my bank were like, "Are you running a corporation from your private bank account?" And I told my bank, "No, I'm not. I'm just creating comics. I'm hiring artists from Asia. I'm paying them. I'm creating comics. I'm earning income, and then I'm using that income to get more artists. It's a nice hobby." And then as I'm talking, I'm realizing this sounds a lot like this sounds an awful lot like a corporation. So I I realized, yes, I have absolutely been running a corporation from my private bank account. Maybe that's actually not allowed. Like, they were threatening to shut down my bank account. I was like, can you give me a corporate bank account? And they said, well, not now, obviously. Like, you're going to have to stop this. And no, we don't want to give you a private bank account, by the way. Because you're hiring Asian artists, you're hiring people from Asia, you're sending money to Asia. We don't want anything to do with that. That sounds shady. And I'm like, well, it's not shady. It's just comics. I can show you. It doesn't matter. It's shady. We don't want to deal with that. It could give us big fees if it turns out you're laundering money. So due to the Danish banks assuming that I'm laundering money, they didn't want anything to do with me and did not want to give me corporate bank accounts. So I was like, well, okay, fuck you guys then. I'm just going to move to Japan. So I moved to Japan and I started a Japanese corporation. Pretty easy to actually start a Japanese corporation and get a bank account. So I started a bank account in Japan. Turns out, lo and behold, fantastic. Japan has something called a tax treaty with the USA. And did you know that every single creator who lives outside the US is actually double taxed? They have to pay their country's tax, but all of their YouTube revenue also is paid to, like 30% of it is taken and paid to the US state. So you're actually paying like 60% on most of your taxes. And Danish tax is already 60%. So if I continued to be in Denmark, it would have been more like 80% tax. So I was like, all right, well, in Japan, it's 20% tax. And I don't have to pay American taxes because it's Japan, because they have a tax treaty. So magically, turns out that was the right move because, I get to keep, like, I only pay 20% tax on my corporate earnings now. Yeah.
Taxes are. You're not the only person who's mentioned that double taxing issue. I know Callie of Hololive has talked about it at length. Mm-hmm. And it's amazing how taxes can just absolutely destroy what you've built. But I'm so happy that it worked out for you in the long run. But there's actually something that I wanted to touch on with when you were talking about webtoons and mobile, because we actually share kind of a interesting similarity in that respect. Of this YouTube channel blew up because I started focusing on mobile content before other people did. And I know you've been doing this to great effect on your YouTube channel as well with all your shorts. They're a very underutilized tool, and it's kind of impressive how I think a lot of people have discounted just how many people are on their phones and how many people want to use their phones to view the content that they enjoy. In your case, it was webcomics. In my case, it was like
the vast majority of all internet users are on smartphones.
Yeah, I agree. I didn't think that until I actually took the time to look at like my own analytics and everything, and realized that 80% of everyone who's ever watched me was on a phone, which is, but like it's so true of everywhere, because phones, as they've evolved over the years, making content for them, or like whether accidentally or intentionally, has been such an interesting boon to so many creators.
Yes.
So.
Smartphones, POG.
Smartphones, POG, exactly. Tablets too. I've noticed a lot more people viewing stuff on tablets as well. So.
Yeah. Like, I think the future is definitely just smartphones getting better and better and faster, and just people consuming all their content on it. And especially with things like casting, where people can just put whatever they want to watch from their phone up on a big screen anywhere they want, like where there's a smartphone TV, a smart TV, then yeah, like mobile phones are, and they are the present and the future.
I completely agree.
So while we might still use desktop to make content, I think we should be making the content for mobile. But yeah, another thing that I built my company on is also the idea of loyalty. It is also, so a lot of art studios, they kind of like, they take in artists, they get what they can from them, and then they throw them out before they start complaining about the low wages they get. There is an abundance of artists out there, and they're willing to get work, and a lot of them really want to work for studios. And a lot of artists really want to like make a living with their art. But a lot of like most of the time, these studios don't really give them very good options. So what I've done instead is I've done a thing which I call corporate poaching, which is usually a shady tactic used by businessmen to ruin other businesses and get talent by underhanded tactics. But you'll see that I am chaotic good in this regard, because I find artists in Asia who get paid like $500 a month for doing like 10 hours of work per day with no sick leave and no pension and no healthcare and stuff like that. And then I'm like, hey, I'll pay you 4 times that amount if you come do memes with me. Sometimes even 6 times that amount. And then they say yes instantly, because who wouldn't?
Yeah, I would. I'd say yes.
Yeah. And that's how I got a lot of my really, really, really good artists, and that's why they've stayed with me for so many years. I pay them $2,000 to $3,000 a month, depending on the artist, and depending on how much they put out. And if they feel burnt out, they get to take as many breaks as they want. And if they want a break, they take a break. And if they're sick, and they still get paid the same amount. And the amount of loyalty they have for me due to this is kind of astounding. Like the artists I have now have been sticking with me for like 4 or 5 years now.
I think that loyalty is such an underrated value. It's kind of funny how many similarities we have going here. Like, you have artists in Asia. I've been working on music projects with a couple people in the Philippines, which were the same types of thing, where they basically told me what they were getting paid, and I was just like, can I just pay you a salary and you make music for me now? And it's like way more than they were getting paid. And so like that same type of relationship, it's amazing how much that loyalty benefits both you and them. Like it's just a win-win for everyone. You treat people right, you get good results all around, you know?
I think something that I've had a conversation with people about before is that my business doesn't really resemble most startup business. It actually resembles, like system-wise and stuff, it resembles more of an old school family business. It's not something where it's like, okay, grow big right away, get everyone on contracts, then sell off the company to someone else, and then you get a few million, and then you go off doing your own thing. And I have been offered a few million for my company before, and I've always said no. I won't sell even 1%. I genuinely want this business to last until I'm like 90, and then I can give it to someone else. That's my plan. Like I'm in this for the long haul. I would like the artists I have right now to stay with me for 20, 30 years.
That's such a nice outlook.
When they wanna start thinking about retirement, then they can train up the new artists, and then there'll be a new generation of creators. And I think that's a better way to do it, because I don't want to just eat for a year and then move on and then get my bag. And that's also why I don't get paid more than my artists. I get paid the same. I have the same salary as all of my artists. And I take the bus. I don't have a car. I live within my means, which means that we have more money for our projects. Yeah. Well,
living within your means is actually kind of a very interesting topic that I feel like could benefit just so many people, especially when they're talking about content creation and things. Because if you just have a little bit of sensibility of like where your financial situation is, where you're going with it, and what you want to do with it, it also makes a lot of these simple living decisions easier. And like, it really helps you focus on what you want to spend your money on, and, you know, making sure that you're good, that your team is good, and that like your whole situation is just sound. And that's something I really wish was taught more, I guess. I was very fortunate to, because I grew up with a family owned business, being a part of it and things like that. So a lot of those same frugal values were instilled in me early on. And it really does help you put in perspective when you have that team that you actually do really care about, and you're not trying to just get the bag, you're trying to build something. Your whole outlook on the way you treat people, the way you carry yourself changes for the better, in my opinion.
Woof.
Wolf indeed.
Yes. Woof, woof.
Thank you for such an interesting history lesson. I knew a lot of it. There were some things that I still hadn't heard yet, but
I've been in a lot of weird situations. There's a drama video with 4 million views up about how I lost my first marketing manager job on YouTube. I've been around for a long time, you know.
I haven't even heard of that one.
It's the right opinion. I mean, I'm not the bad guy in it, don't worry, but yeah.
Oh, you were in a right opinion video? I didn't even know about that.
Yeah, it's about me.
Oh, wait, you're the... Oh, I'm just having a flashback. No, I know exactly which one you're talking about.
Yeah, I've had some adventures in the internet.
Oh my gosh. I actually just completely remembered. That didn't click until just now. I've seen that video at least 3 or 4 times. Oh my gosh.
I was so anxious when that video came out, but it ended up well. The company's bankrupt now, like they're not around anymore. Samurai Buyer.
Yeah,
shut down.
I can't believe I didn't realize that was you. But it's so obvious.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah, you really have been around.
Yes. We used to have a small podcast as well.
Oh, really?
It's called Internet Dream Lounge. We had Chris Chan on. Do you know Chris Chan?
The name sounds familiar, but I can't.
Sonichu?
Yes.
That's the creative Sonichu.
Oh, okay. Then yeah.
We had Chris Chan on the podcast.
That's so many different creative endeavors.
Yeah, I've been around for a long time. Like I've always done comics, but I've tried out many different things online. Yes.
And
I enjoy YouTubing now.
Yeah, I was actually going to bring that up, and I know one of your more recent accolades, in addition to the VShojo lore videos, which, don't worry, we'll have plenty of questions for those. But you've become a very successful streamer and content creator in your own right, aside from your comics, which has been super fun to watch.
Thank you.
Especially your short form content, I think, is definitely something a lot of people, including myself, can learn from, because you're very good at it. So,
well, my YouTube shorts?
Yeah, your YouTube shorts, your streams, just you've been popping off.
Thank you. I'm trying my best. I really want to be a big streamer. I really want to do well, but it's kind of difficult. I feel like at one point I realized that it's really not promotion that's my issue. It's more like quality of content, because I've been, like, since day one, I've been rated by people like Melody and stuff. I really, like, if my content was the quality that it was supposed to be, I would have popped off long ago. So I think I started putting in a lot of effort, and I feel like I've gotten better at streaming since then.
Well, I know I certainly enjoy them for how much time I spend inside. But I do think that that's another very interesting topic that we here on my channel, we've talked about it a lot about like growing as a content creator and things like that. But even though you've had such a backlog of other creative endeavors, it still kind of goes to show that streaming is such a difficult sphere to break into, even if you are extremely talented. And even if you do have the support of, good friends like the Vishojo crew and others, like I'm really happy that you've been able to grow on your own as well. Which honestly, I think there's a lot of stuff that you do that again, I've mentioned the shorts because I'm obsessed with shorts, but it's so refreshing to see you climb, not because of these raids or anything, but because you've grown as a streamer and a content creator. And I think that's a journey that a lot of people don't recognize takes time, even if you've had so many other successful creative indentures.
I think I realized a while ago that I think I realized a while ago that streaming takes more skill than most people think it does. Like creating fun content and making your stream fun to watch from a moment to moment basis. It takes more than most people think, and it is a skill that you need to learn, but it's a skill that is hard to learn because it's something that you gotta like realize as you go. There's no real way to like teach someone how to be a good streamer. Like if you look up tutorials and stuff, they just give you like, you have to make sure you answer your chat. It's just all the obvious stuff. There's no secret knowledge. It's really, you got to find your own path in it.
I completely agree.
What works for one person doesn't work for another. It's like I can play fucking like you look at some streamers, they can play like Valorant for 10 hours and then they have like 5,000 views. And then I try to play Valorant and have less than usual views. You look at someone, like some people play World of Warcraft. When I play World of Warcraft, I have almost no views. And I'm not very entertaining to watch either. So it's about finding the things that you can do that make you entertaining rather than looking at what other people are doing successfully and then following that. You really can't do that. It's really hard because in every other aspect of business, you really got to look at what other people are doing right and then follow that. But that really does not appear to be the case with streaming for the vast majority. Like you can find little quirks that other people have done. You can follow trends, but the trends will only take you so far. And it's like, I thought I was a decent streamer from day one. It's only going back and watching some of my first streams that I realized I was actually quite an awful streamer. There was a lot of things I was doing wrong that I didn't even think about could be done wrong. Like not talking enough during gameplay or having my chat cover half the screen, things like that. Yeah.
I definitely know the feeling because I actually streamed for about 9 months as a primarily gaming streamer before I swapped to this more sort of informational, educational style, which I found out suited me way better than I could have imagined. But I wasted 9 months trying to be what everyone else was instead of figuring out what I could do. And I think that's the single biggest thing with streaming is, like you just mentioned, you can chase other people's trends and things, and it can get you some success, but as soon as you stop that, it goes away immediately because it wasn't you. Yes. As soon as you can figure out what you individually can offer to someone else, then I feel like that's when you really start building your community. You figure out what your strengths are and what you can play into.
Yes. So I think so. There's also choosing the right platform. You've chosen atypically you've chosen YouTube.
Yeah. I actually started on Twitch. Many.
What made you suddenly decide to go over on YouTube?
So several years ago, I was actually an IRL streamer, I was actually doing okay. I ironically streamed mostly gacha games, but I was like the math guy in gacha games because I love doing math. I love like calculating everything and being like that. But then when the VTubing boom happened with Hololive, Ian came out I'd always been interested in VTubing, but I'd never had a PC that was even close to capable of running a model, much less also streaming. Just not even a chance. And so I'd forgotten about it because like my initial interest was when FaceRig Studio first came out. I'm actually one of the founding like Kickstarter backers of FaceRig. So I have the original license, but my computer couldn't handle it back then. I actually tried streaming like with FaceRig when it first popped out, but my computer couldn't handle it. And because it couldn't handle it, I kind of forgot about it until that HoloLive boom happened. And I was kind of realizing that like the mobile game gacha streaming, or at least what I was doing, just wasn't what I was really happy with. And I was like, I already had an interest in VTubing. Let's go for it. And so that's when I swapped from Twitch to YouTube as basically just more of a clean break for myself and a desire to engage with an environment that I felt was better for me. But I basically had to relearn everything because of the things that worked on Twitch do not necessarily work on YouTube. In fact, I would argue that there's a lot of skills that are great for streaming, but they make your stream good. But I feel like on YouTube, the primary problem is getting your stream found. And the way you do that is through things that aren't streams.
Yes, like shorts.
Like shorts.
That's what I like about YouTube, is that your channel is still alive when you're offline. Like also the whole thing about there's way more people, like the VOD watching experience on YouTube is much better because you can have like something I noticed when I started experimenting a little bit with YouTube streams is that you have people like timestamping funny moments in the comments, and that helps a lot. Like the viewing experience of a YouTube stream after it's already been done streaming is vastly superior to that of a Twitch VOD. And
I completely agree.
Yeah, like yeah, sure, Twitch clips are fine, but it doesn't, like YouTube is way better. They archive videos better, they play better, the comment section is there. Everything's great about YouTube. And I think it's also the way that so on Twitch you really got to stream as long as you can, because the longer you stream, the more your channel is visible, and that means the longer you're going to grow. On YouTube, it's more like you got to make short, sweet streams with the intention of them becoming a video afterwards.
Exactly.
It kind of helps promote something that I actually think is more healthy in the long run for both the streamer and the audience, which is short and sweet content.
I completely agree.
Pre-prepared, short, sweet, good content for streaming, rather than just playing Overwatch for 9 hours. Which not a lot of people are gonna want to remember. Like that's not really like sweet memories for people. It's just, it's just the daily grind. It's just the daily stuff to get through. It's more like broadcasting things with no intention of it ever getting anywhere. So I have done a few YouTube streams, and I made like little thumbnails for them, and I really appreciate those streams. My first stream, I talked about the history of VTubing, and I tried to really prepare a lot of it in advance. And yes, I want to do more of that.
I've found that those types of stream. Oh, sorry. Go ahead.
Oh, sorry. The problem is that most live stream viewers that aren't corporate VTuber fans are on Twitch, and that's a problem. As long as the majority of viewers are on Twitch, there's not going to be an exodus, because people are just going to stay on Twitch because that's where the viewers are. It's like how you remember Ninja moved to Mixer. Everyone assumed a lot of viewers would come with him, but no, he streamed to like 600 people on Mixer for ages.
Yeah.
It was awful.
That was such an interesting situation to watch unfold, just because it defied my expectations. I thought at least some people would go, but that's when it really kind of cemented me that people really like to stick in the place that they're already at. They don't like moving. They know what the experience is where they're at, and they don't tend to leave, which is beneficial if you're the one that they're sticking with. But if you're trying
I'm kind of conflicted. Sorry.
No, go ahead.
I'm kind of conflicted because on one hand, I would very much like competition. I think competition is always healthy. We never want one big platform where it's just like, okay, if you don't like it, then I guess you can go stream on another platform with 5 viewers. Like, no one wants that. No one wants YouTube, like big Google giant, to just be the one dominant force in all video entertainment. But at the same time, it's kind of frustrating to have our audiences split up in this way, and I don't like a lot of Twitch's choices. But going to YouTube would kind of kill my channel, most likely. It's a bit of a problem.
It is definitely that is because I'm also of the opinion that competition is good when it's actual competition. Right now, I feel like the YouTube streaming scene is very, very unique in the fact that it's so creator based. Whereas Twitch, I feel like Twitch culture spreads out a little bit more. There's a little bit more of the same culture between different channels, where on YouTube, my chat is going to be completely different than yours will be. It's a completely different environment, which in some instances I think is actually really good, but in others it does hurt the streaming scene as a whole, because in that, at least in the back of my mind, I know if I'm going to a new channel, there's not going to be any carryover from what I just saw. It's going to be a completely new experience.
There's also the community aspect, raids and things like that.
Yeah, YouTube's gotten a little bit better about that, but that's absolutely something that I think would massively benefit YouTube right now. It's definitely the thing it's lacking the most.
A streaming homepage and raids. If we could get those, we could all start the move.
Yeah.
Woof woof.
But
on Bilibili they have it really nice.
I've actually recently started cross-posting some of the stuff over on Bilibili.
Oh, really?
I've never really, like, I've interacted with it just a little bit. I've heard so many people talk about, and you yourself, I watched a little bit of your Bilibili stream this week. Mm-hmm. And it's...
Oh, really? What did you think?
It was I'm having trouble even describing it, because it was definitely stream, but it was also, I think it was a little bit of culture shock just from the site being so different, because I don't speak Chinese. But
me neither.
I don't know, I felt very much like a fish out of water over there, because I'm so ingrained in like Twitch, TikTok, and YouTube that going over to Bilibili, it wasn't a bad experience. It was just very different. I don't really know how to describe it, but it did make me think about experimenting over there a little bit more, because experimentation is good.
Yeah. It's different in a lot of different ways. First of all, no raids. Second of all, no live viewer numbers. Third of all, there's no top viewer. Like, they don't promote people based on views.
Really?
You can go to the front live stream page and just like look at, okay, what VTubers online. You'll get like VTubers with almost no viewers, and then you'll get VTubers with lots of viewers. There's no distinction between them. Which I think is, frankly, it's very healthy.
That's super interesting.
Yeah, like there is something of a ranking, but the ranking seemingly focuses more on the hype train, kind of like they have something that feels similar to hype train. They have like a ranking. Okay, who's doing best on the VTuber category right now? And and so they have like, okay, the top spot is this person right now. So it's more like hype train. How many donations are you getting within a certain set of time? And that's what puts you up or down the ranking. But that doesn't necessarily bring that many new viewers. It's more like, it feels more like everyone's promoted somewhat equally. Of course, that would be naive of me to say. I'm sure that isn't entirely the case, but it does feel less stressful in terms of like viewership numbers and such.
So this actually brings up a question that I just barely thought about, but in talking about these different platforms, TikTok's recent announcement slash demo of their new streaming software, that's been something I've been watching with great interest, because I know TikTok has a weird
TikTok
vendetta.
gaming.
Yeah, they have a weird vendetta against VTubers for some reason.
Yes. Yeah, I don't get it. It's weird. You know, I'm on the Chinese version of TikTok, and they don't have that vendetta over there, so I don't know where it's coming from.
Huh.
I have no idea. My
I don't
Douyin
know.
account is doing great.
That's great to hear. As TikTok
It's just
is
weird why TikTok isn't. It's very, very weird.
TikTok is just a very special place, because, like, funnily enough, the whole direction of my channel over the last 9 months is because of TikTok. I've been using TikTok as like my experimentation ground for new ideas and things like that. And all the lore stuff started doing really well over there, like overnight. And I was like, huh,
Yeah.
does that mean it's good to go over here on YouTube? And then I did, and then it took up over here as well. And but then after a couple months, I got a whole bunch of videos taken down because of content guidelines. And I'm like, what do you mean content guidelines? There's nothing wrong with this.
No,
there's nothing wrong here.
I once got taken down for nudity and sexual content, even though I was wearing a suit.
Oh, so
it zoomed in on my face too much, so it thought it was bare skin.
I don't think I've ever actually told anyone this. So I've had 5 separate videos taken down for sexual content. One of them was Nina's of Niji Sanji, which, like, her how could anything about her model be misconstrued? I don't understand. Silverveil's was another one. And it's kind of funny because all the videos that got taken down were like the most tamest of like model outfits. And I'm just like, TikTok, what is your detection software doing here?
I don't know. It's very weird. For some strange reason, they have it in their mind that VTubers get it really hard. It's been alleged that it has something to do with their software. I'm not really sure how true that is. I have no idea. Eventually, we're going to get an answer as they keep banning people. Weiwei's been banned multiple times on TikTok.
I've definitely noticed that. Weiwei's been banned on a lot of stuff just in general, mostly unfairly.
Yeah, I don't know.
We even had
I've never been banned. That's weird.
I thankfully have also never been banned. And if I ever get banned for being a cat, I'm going to riot.
Funny.
Oh gosh. So much interesting things about all the different platforms. But I guess we've talked about almost everything else except for what I can see Chad is kind of freaking out about a little bit, which is the VShojo stuff. So how did that happen in the first place? That seems like such an interesting to go from comics to that.
Well, for the longest time, I think you can kind of tell, you can kind of see a. Did you know that Hime Hajime has a lore video and we actually produced it? Like, for the Merryweather Media X, we showed you lore videos. Hime Hajime is the first one to have a lore video.
Wait, so her video was made by you guys? Wait, what?
Yeah.
It was? How did I miss that?
Because it's not made in the usual style at all. And it's very short.
I feel like a fake fan that I missed that.
That was like a very, very prototype version. So we did these things, and we are still doing these things called We Showed You Comics. I'm not personally writing them. A lot of people think I'm the one writing them. I'm not. A lot of people also make the mistake of assuming that they're canon to the We Showed You Lore universe. They're not. The We Showed You Lore universe is entirely its own thing. The question of whether We Showed You Lore is canon to the stream, or if the stream universe is like separate from We Showed You Lore, that's a weird one. I think that depends on the member. I personally like to view it as the We Showed You Lore is it's a little weird because the members refer to it as lore videos and say that I wrote it. So maybe it's like a dramatized version directed, like written by me. You know, like in The Boys when they make movies based on The Boys?
Yeah.
Maybe the We Showed You Lores are like that. Or maybe it's just I just, to be honest, I just see it as it's a story. It's a story all on its own that adapts these different characters and their backstories into a dramatized version. Yeah. Anyway, doesn't really matter.
Well, I know you've been on. I know you've been on record at least once, talking about Nyanner's increasingly crazy streams.
Everything Nyanner's does is canon to the We Showed You Lore universe. Whether she's milking herself or turning her into a worm, everything is canon. I've decided.
I love that decision so much, because the funny thing about the milking stream in particular is when I was writing the timeline video, which I think I got mostly right. I had to use the milking stream to place a time point, and that is the single funniest moment for me doing any sort of research. Is like, I have to use this as a point on the timeline to place something.
That's funny.
It was
the milking stream.
It was the funniest thing. I know exactly what it was too, because it's in Zentrea's video where she mentions it. And I actually almost published the video with the incorrect pieces because I'd forgot about that little tidbit. And then when I was rewatching your stream with Aethel, where you went over all of the all these sort of director's commentary things, that flashed back into my head. I'm like, oh no, no one would probably ever notice this but me, but I gotta fix it.
That's funny.
But I really love that there's that level of detail. That, like, I could go back and look at that because there's so much attention. That's probably the thing I love most about the work that you and your team have done, is there's such an attention to detail.
I tried to make it all consistent. Like, there's a timeline. Everything is happening on like a series. So I didn't quite myself use the milking stream as the corner, like the time moment that I can kind of refer back to. It's actually the Vils concert I usually use. Like Nyanna's Iron Mouse and Silver Veil's performance at the Vils concert is televised within the We Showed You Lore universe. And that televising appears during almost all of the lore videos. And that is to tell that these are all like happening when that is on screen. That means that all of these different laws are kind of united in a timeline. We know where it is on the timeline then.
I love that that's the cornerstone, because I chuckle every time I see it.
Yes.
Especially, I think my favorite reaction to that. Oh, hi Aya, how you doing?
Oh my, Aya. I made a single small error in my own lore video, and there have been occasions where I've woken up in cold sweat because of it. Oh no.
That's a mood right there.
I am so sad. I missed all of Iluna's debuts. I usually never miss Niji Sanji debuts. Like, Iluna was the first ones I missed. I need to go back and watch their lore videos.
Iluna was actually the first Niji Sanji wave that I don't know. They're well, okay. I don't want to gush about them because they're in chat, but I'm gonna do it anyways. But Aluna was the first wave that like because I've watched every single Niji Sanji debut 2.0 stream plus the next 3 streams after they've gone live of every single member in Niji Sanji EN. Aluna was the only ones that I watched when they came out live. back to back to back. That was so much time.
I just didn't have time that night. I'm so sad about it.
I don't know what it was, but something about their individual stories this time, I was just hooked. I don't know. I don't know why. It was just, I was so...
Sounds like I need to go watch it.
It was such good times.
Yes. But to bring it back to your question, there's 6 of us. It's a lot to get through. Well, so to bring it back to I always love how Aya shows up when I'm on YouTube as well. She's very social. I like it. Hello, Aya. But yes. So how it all started. Well, we were commissioned to do the comics, and we did the comics. I'm not personally the writer. It's usually Kaz or the artist that's the writer. We should request these different moments or scripts and stuff, and then we just kind of do it and produce it. But the lore videos are separate. So I remember back in December of 2021, Iron Mouse messaged me after Mori Calliope's lore video, which we had produced. Not quite lore video, but Christmas special story, motion comic kind of thing. Mm-hmm. We had produced one featuring all the Hollow Live EN myth girls. And that was received pretty well. So Iron Mouse wanted one. And then I remember January 15th, we received a message from Vishoujo saying that Nyanas wants lore. She wants a lore video for her debut. And she was debuting this eldritch horror kind of aesthetic. And she had mentioned me as being someone who could potentially do it. Because Nyanas knows me. She knows that I write eldritch horror a lot. So I was like, all right, fantastic. How long do we have? Till the end of the month. 15 days. Oh, shit. So I took the whole day setting up and finding artists willing to do it. So we found Joachim, who is, of course, the first artist I ever met in Denmark in 2012 at an anime convention. And I got 82. And I was like, all right, if we split it up so that both of you do half, is it feasible that this can be done on time? They said yes, depends on the length of the script. But I really, really wanted to do something that was like almost anime episode length. I don't quite know why. Maybe I just really wanted to like write a long story. I remember being sad that I wasn't the writer on the Mori Calliope story. I was only producer because they had like a very specific vision for it. And I'm not very good at writing for a super specific vision. I'm good at like what the Vishoujo girls usually do is they give me like pointers. Like, I want this kind of vibe. I want this kind of esque scene to be in it. This is my general backstory. Like, Nyanas gave me like a general timeline from like millions of years in the past to present. Like, just like, and then like 600,000 years ago, this happened. And then 400,000 years ago, this happened. Like, just pointers in outer space until she was in Siberia under the ice. So that was pretty easy to kind of go by. And I remember looking at Nyanas and I was like, it's like a cosmic origin story from millions of years in the past to present day with Vishoujo. Either this is going to be really rushed and just narration, which is kind of boring. I feel like, okay, kind of boring. Maybe I shouldn't be calling it kind of boring. It's cool when VTubers do it. And it's a good way to not have to spend like a massive amount of money getting lots of art done. To just kind of like tell the story like a storybook, you know, and then have a little bit of art to accustom. But I really wanted to do something where we're actually with the characters and we can hear them talking. So it's not like, and then Nyanas was trapped under the. No, we actually see her getting trapped, and we actually see the people trapping her, and we actually like see all of this stuff going on in space, and we hear her inner monologue as these things are going on. I really wanted to do something like that. I also knew, because this was before there was any plans for a shared Vishoru universe. I also knew that if I'm gonna have any chance to get this right, if I'm gonna have any chance to make lore videos in the future, I really gotta nail this one. Because I remember back then there was kind of like a general idea that I was the writer of only cheap anime waifu meme shit comics, fast food content for weebs, basically. There was this kind of general vibe. A lot of people didn't really fully respect me. And I remember there was some, like, generally people liked me, but there was always a little bit of, this guy doesn't really deserve what he has, you know? There was always that kind of like, there was people thinking that in the VTubing community. And at least within the VTubing community, I don't think they exist anymore much. Because
I would be surprised if they existed after everything you've done.
After the Vishojo lore videos, people gave me so much goodwill. That goodwill didn't really exist before, which is also why I told Nyanas, okay, you can tease whatever you want about the lore video, but don't tell anyone that I did it. Because if you tell people that I did it, people are gonna go in expecting it to be bad, or haters are gonna hate. They're gonna go in, they're gonna expect it to be kind of bad. They're gonna expect it to be, so they're gonna look at it with bad eyes, basically. But if no one knows it's me until the credits roll, then they've been sitting and complimenting this big lore video that they thought Nyanas wrote for herself, and then it turns out it was written by me. I still remember all of the reactions, which is like, what? Like, a lot of people were incredibly surprised that it was me who wrote that, like, long eldritch. Like, my hardcore viewers know that I can write that, but I'm never really given the budget to do that.
I'm so happy that you were given the budget, because that,
yeah,
I'll admit that the Nyanners video was what, like, kind of opened my eyes to a lot of possibilities, and I was like, oh my gosh, this is amazing. Yeah.
Like, I remember there was a lot of nervousness about how seriously I was writing it during the process, because until that point, it hadn't really been done. Like, this big budget lore video that was entirely serious and was entirely trying to tell this, like, super serious, dark, edgy story. There was a lot of, like, rewrites going on, which is why we actually lost a few days of progress, because there was a lot of rewrites going on. Like, first they wanted to do it a little bit more comedic, because I think a few people few people involved in the process had kind of cold feet about it, about how seriously I was taking this dark Lovecraftian story. And then, like, I did a few, like, comedic drafts on it, but then I think in the end, we ended up going with my first draft, which was the dark version. There was like 2 or 3 jokes added, and I know that Ethelstan added the Nyanaconda bass song to a specific scene of Nyana's falling down, which was or Nyana's coming down and destroying the human civilization, which I thought was quite funny. But overall, the video was taken very seriously. Yeah, a lot of people were very nervous about that because it really hadn't been done. I remember that some people were nervous that it was going to kind of flop, that people were going to find it cringe, that it was too serious. But I think what surprised a lot of people is that if the budget is big enough and if there's enough effort put behind it, it really isn't cringe, in much the same way where, like, serious anime isn't cringe. Or serious Hollywood movies aren't cringe. If there's, like, of course, if it's you and your friend in your bedroom trying to do, like, a super serious, like, mood thing, yeah, you can kind of cringe a little bit at it. But if enough effort is put in, it ceases to be cringe. And taking something that seriously and making something that is genuinely an attempt at making something that is like, this is seriously, we take the story seriously. What is going on in this story isn't a joke. Of course there's jokes, but the story and what happens in it and the message and everything, it's not a joke. It's a serious story that you should be seeing seriously, and it's serious. I don't think I think a lot of people didn't expect that could work, but it did.
I know personally, about that same time that video came out, I was actually kind of struggling with like the VTubing scene in general. Like, okay, what is everyone's next step? Because I feel like we hadn't quite really understood like what was possible for VTubers fully at that point yet. Like, the Iron Mouse subathon hadn't happened. A whole bunch of like other big events hadn't quite, like the only real big event we'd had was the Hollow Myth debut and then the Niji Sanji debuts. Those were like the biggest things to kind of come out of the community, at least the English side. And I know at that time I was really wondering, okay, like how do we level this up? What are some of the next steps that VTubers could take? And then your video dropped, and up until that point, this might be embarrassing to admit, but I kind of thought that VTuber lore was mostly a waste of time for a lot of people. Like, not that it was inherently without value, but I think a lot of people put that middling level of effort that you talked about, where it was enough to make a story, but not enough to give it justice. And it fell into the middle ground of like where a lot of people can think that it is that kind of cringy level. But then you come out of the gate swinging with this giant masterpiece, and now it's like, wait a second, we can go to there's a whole new level here that we haven't even touched yet. And that's what really galvanized me personally, of like, wait a second, this is actually really cool. And
Thank you.
I was super excited to watch like all the other developments that came after that.
Thank you. I can't really pinpoint. I do remember, I can pinpoint one moment where Vishoju was like, we would like to commission one for every member. I remember that was right after Nyanas, due to the positive reception. Like, the reception to Nyanas lore video was so overwhelmingly positive from both people in the industry and people and the general audience as well, that they immediately ordered one for every member, which is what we're still delivering on now. Iron Mouse ordered 3 immediately. She ordered 3 large ones. She'd already ordered 1 in December, but then she ordered, she made it clear she wants 2 more, and she wanted them like Nyanas, I think it was. She also played a role in, I don't really remember why, but I decided to write in a role for Nyanas in I decided to write in a role for Iron Mouse in Nyanas, and I think it's because I knew that Nyanas was already set for February. We were already set to start and produce Nyanas lore video in February. So I knew that was going to happen. So I added in a cameo for Nyanas. This was before we had decided that it was going to be like, a united lore video universe. But then it sort of just kind of smoothly became it. I don't know if there was a single I really don't know if there was a single moment where we decided that it was going to be a lore. I think I just sort of did it, and then everyone thought it was cool.
So I actually have a burning question about that, actually, because like you've mentioned, it wasn't planned that way, but it kind of became that. Have there been any like long-term problems or like things that are an issue because it didn't start off as a continual shared universe, or have things just kind of fell into place naturally?
At one point in Nyana's lore video, there is a single frame which I have declared non-canon, which is where you see dragons and Treya.
I remember seeing that post on Twitter.
Yes, that one panel is now forever declared non-canon, and it did not show up in the comic version. And that is simply because I did not expect that we would ever do that many. I thought we were going to do 1 for Nyanas, 1 for Iron Mouse, and that was kind of going to be it. And then maybe the other members had like small cameos in those. I really didn't expect that we would continue on like with this many. Like we're preparing to do the third one for Iron Mouse now, and like it's like we're at the point where members are receiving multiple lore videos that like
That's
continue
so
their story.
fantastic.
It's
'Cause
great.
I know, especially with some of the community questions that we'll ask just a little bit later on, but like that you've built up so many different aspects that you could expound on. You don't have to, but like there are story threads there. Like, just to use Iron Mouses as an example, like I really want to know what's going on with all those cameos at the very end of her video. You can't just do that and not say anything about them. Like, come on. Like, all these new characters, I'm like, wait, no, you can't do this to me. You can't give me nothing.
I mean, there's definitely bigger things being set in motion in the lore video universe, and while I initially did not plan for them to go on this long, I have taken things from the early ones and I have incorporated things that have been said in the early ones into my longer term plans.
I'm
So
excited
things
to
that
hear
are
that there are
canon.
longer term plans.
Oh yes, like like the things that are like the seeds that are sown in the you know how George R. R. Martin writes novels. He
Mhm.
sows seeds, and then he tends to them, and then he sows story seeds. So like the things that he just says like a lot of different small things, adds a lot of little exposition here and there, and then in the future, if he wants to do something with it, then that was clever foreshadowing long ago. Wow, he's been planning this the entire time. Or the things that he didn't end up using, that was just world building. So the story of Game of Thrones is chock full of this kind of like seed sowing, where he'll add like a bunch of details about a bunch of stuff, and then maybe that comes into play later if he decides to use it. And if that's the case, then wow, it was already hinted at back in book 1. Wow. That's a good writing technique that I've taken up. But it's just a reality that that like everything within the Vishoto lore universe had to be spawned from what happened in Nyanas and Iron Mouses. That because those two set the base for what's going on. After that, we got to do Veibase, and I think it was in Nyanas that we first decided to do like end credit scenes, like Marvel kind of. Because when we were doing Nyanas, we knew that there was gonna be more. And that's when we started like teasing other members and things like that in end credit scenes and such. Yes.
Speaking of other members, this is one of my favorite anecdotes from, again, the stream that you did with Aethel, but the copious amounts of Haruka Caribou cameos. And why she's in so many videos.
Well, Haruka is okay. You want to hear the real truth of that? All right, let me give that to you.
Yeah.
I think I can tell you this. So originally, we actually wanted Veibe to be the one who stopped Nyanas. Now we kind of rectified that by preemptively adding her to a scene in her lore video that shows her like being the one with Haruka sealing Nyanas below the ice. But back then, before we knew that the Vishojo lore universe was gonna be a thing, like way before we knew anything about that, it was still kind of up in the air of who we could even add to these lore videos because we needed permission, you know?
Right.
Yeah, Iron Mouse and Nyanas are like best friends. So it was pretty easy to get Iron Mouse's permission. Iron Mouse loved the idea, and Iron Mouse had already signed up for a lore video, so it made sense to have Iron Mouse in the lore video, and it made sense to have at least like the image of the other members to be in there, and stuff. But we wanted to ask Veibe's permission to appear in this one scene in the lore. But I remember that we couldn't get a hold of her fast enough. And I think she said yes, but I remember at that point we'd already drawn in Haruka instead. I don't know why Nyana's asked for Haruka. I think Haruka is just friends with all of them. I think that's it. She's just friends with all of these shoujo's like members, kinda. So
one thing I want to touch on real quick before we move on is just like, because that's something that sounds kind of weird, is that she didn't respond fast enough. But I want to remind people that this video was made in a couple weeks.
Yeah, it was made in 9 days, actually. So not even a couple of weeks. Any
delay at all means that you've moved on.
Yeah. Like if Weibe didn't respond for 2 days, that meant we have to move on. So yeah, because we were so much under, like Joachim drew for 9 days straight to get this lore video done.
I still can't fathom that level of speed. That's so impressive to me.
Yeah, I mean, we pulled a lot of tricks. Like if you watch Nyana's lore video now and you compare it to something like, say, Zentrea's or Kaison's, you'll notice a lot of, if you're good at art, if you know a lot about art and you know a lot about how like 3D models look and stuff, you will actually notice that there's a lot of tricks being pulled in Nyana's lore video.
Okay, I didn't want to say this, but I've suspected this. Are the buildings in Nyana's lore videos 3D renders?
A lot of them are mixtures of 3D and 2D.
I knew it. Okay, I wasn't sure.
That is like we pulled a lot of like things that I think most people don't notice, because Joachim does this trick where they're 3D models, but he paints over them so it's not immediately noticeable.
The only reason why I noticed is because I worked on a video game in the past, and we needed a lot of just generic objects in there, and we used that exact same technique to make things like they look very passable, but if you've done it before, you immediately recognize it. But it was like it was good enough. I wasn't sure. That's been bothering me ever since I saw them.
Joachim is a manga artist, so he's used to an entirely different work schedule than a lot of us are. He's used to putting out like really big, Shonen Jump level books. And so doing the lore videos is really kind of a natural thing for Joachim, because he's able to use all of these tricks he's learned from manga, how to like kind of use tricks to save time, or how to position something in such a way as if it looks grand, but it's actually something he put together in 3 hours in a 3D program. So a lot of these things are kind of just tricks. Nyana's entire lore video is put together really, really fast, and therefore we had to do these tricks. 82, you can also tell, like 82 put a lot of emphasis on stylization and a lot of emphasis on character art, precisely because he did not have time to actually do a lot with the backgrounds and stuff. It's also the reason.
Noticed that as well.
Yeah, like there's definitely a lot of tricks being made in Nyana's lore video, especially. But I think I'm proud of how it ended up being. I think it looks good. I think most people won't notice until you start pointing out to them that Nyana's lore video looks like it's kind of been put together pretty fast. But yeah, like we had a few days where we had to finalize the script, and then I remember us having like, okay, now we have 9 days to finish it, all of it, including the video and editing and everything. So it wasn't even 9 days to finish the art; it was 9 days to finish the video.
That's so incredible to me that you guys managed to put out something like that in less time than it takes me to make a video by myself.
Yeah, I mean, we took our like strongest artists in terms of output, and we put them together, and we said like, okay, 82, you do the past, you do all the space stuff. Joachim, you do all the present day stuff after Siberia. Go now go. And that's what happened basically.
I can't.
We gotta do this basically. A lot of people were kind of nervous about me giving them that much work, but we pulled through. And yeah,
seriously,
we pulled through.
Very impressive,
and without even losing much sleep, actually. That's just a testament to Joachim's power level as an artist, especially Joachim. Also 82, but especially Joachim is incredibly fast at drawing. You know what he does? He puts on Eurobeat and then he just draws, like Initial D and stuff.
Eurobeat
it's
is
quite
my
fun.
single favorite genre of music that has ever existed. So
Yes,
he is a man after my own heart.
100%.
Oh.
So each of these lore videos we upgrade actually. So in Iron Mouses we had like, instead of 9 days, I think we had 20 days. We actually had 30 days, but we ran into some production issues in the start, and we ended up having 20 days for the art and the video after the script was completed. So we did that, and then we put together, and that was the first time where we had like a proper storyboarding, because in Llanos we really didn't have that much storyboarding. In this one, it was the first time where we had like a proper cinematic storyboarding, and we had proper backgrounds being created by a third artist, which is Raelz. He did a lot of the background art and stuff and designs.
Wait, hold on. You did Nyanner's video in 9 days, and not with story. What kind of monsters are you people? How did you do that? That's
Well, again, the artists are quite powerful, and you'll be surprised how much people are willing if you give them like a big epic project and you tell them this is probably going to be shown to like 15,000 plus people live, and it's for Nyanas, who's like a famous VTuber. You'd be surprised how many of our artists were like, "Oh, that sounds really cool." Like, we get to do like an anime level production thing, and we get to be paid for it. That sounds awesome.
My brain is having trouble processing that you managed to do that. Like, I totally get being super passionate about projects. It kind of like unlocks your a whole new energy that you didn't have before when you're super excited about a project. But still, to do that on top of no storyboarding is that blows my mind. I can't even fathom trying to do that. That's insane.
It was quite crazy, but in the end we managed to do it. Then as mentioned with Iron Mouse, we managed to do like upgrade the background art and stuff. No more 3D models for that one. We pulled back the 3D models a little bit for some of the new ones, but I think it's fair. It looks good. It's not rushed. And then for Vaybase, it was the first time where we actually had animation. And for Zentreya, it was the first time where we actually had action scenes. And yeah,
Zentreya's was definitely the two videos that stand out the most to me are Zentreya's and Nyanner's, because I feel like they both did things that are like, Nyanner's was obviously the first, all these new tricks that you use to get it out in an ungodly low amount of time. But then with Zentreya's video, that the viewing experience for Zentreya's video just felt very, very different than all the others in like a very positive way, because it didn't just feel like I was watching the backstory of Zentreya. This is like, this is a mini show that I'm watching, and I don't really know how to fully describe the difference in feeling of that, but like I loved that, like there was that more movement, that more action, and just I have trouble articulating just how I feel about the Zentreya one, but the Zentreya one's probably my favorite overall.
I'm glad. A lot of people say that to me actually, that Zentreya's is their favorite, which is makes me very happy, because that's like the latest one we did for at least Vishoujo EN. Like we did the Kazon one. I'm really happy with the Kazon one as well. But I really like how but see, the funny thing is that, did you know that we were actually producing Iron Mouse and Kazon back to back? Iron Mouse's second, Heavenfall and Kazon were produced in the same month at the same time. That is why Kazon has a different artist.
Wow.
It was only later that we found out that okay, like it was like a few days before release that it was delayed till the next month, because obviously we don't want like 2 lore videos to come out at the exact same time, you know.
Right.
We want to space them out a little bit, right? So it was only after like we basically completed all the art that we were told, you know what, you have an extra month, and that's when we were like, all right, we can chill, we can add a little bit of extra stuff, we can make nice things, and for the for Heavenfall, and we were able to add extra polish and extra scenes and stuff for Heavenfall.
Well, it
Which
really
is
shows with like how that video turned out. I some of the art from that, especially like the angels in the Heavenfall video. I
yes,
know
that's 82, same one who did Nyana's Eldritch Horror.
that that made me so happy to see that style of angel in that video.
Yes.
I can't describe how giddy I was. I'm like, oh, they're going this route. Let's go. Oh, it made me so happy.
So everything you see in heaven in Iron Mouse's lore video is entirely like it is all like inhuman, and you cannot even comprehend what it looks like. So that's why we get like glimpses of these true angel forms splintered throughout, but our feeble human minds like simplify it into cute angel girls. and that's from the human perspective. That's what our minds make it look like, but like it's actually angelic, colossal, spiritual monstrosities fighting each other in the Iron Mouse one.
I love that so much. So
Thank you.
since we're talking about Heavenfall, I gotta ask about Nizuna's key. Is that the actual key to the pearly gates?
I don't know, dude. I'm not allowed to say fucking anything about Nasuna. That's fucking strictly off the table.
I kind of figured, but okay. Feel free to also not answer this question, but is her video on the table in the future as well?
Okay, so the thing about Nasuna is that she's very much a new character.
Right.
And I think the wish was for her to find her bearings first before we try to put a lore, because the other members all have like, they all know their characters well.
Right.
Pretty much everyone else who's joined Vishoujo, from Kason to Weibei, everyone, kind of Hime Hajime too, but that was before the new lore video styles. Everyone who's joined Vishoujo so far that weren't there from the original point, and even the ones that were there originally, they have all been they were all aware of their characters before and had a good idea of what they wanted lore for. Nasuna hasn't really, at least Nasuna at the time, hadn't really had that like experience of like finding her character yet.
Right.
So the decision was made to not. But I'll tell you what happened from my perspective. I got home to the hotel room the night after Kason debuted, like at the show at Anime Expo, and I got up early in the morning and I wrote a lore video for Nasuna, and I got a team together to do it in time for her debut. But I was told, all right, Mary, we get you a little bit enthusiastic here, but let's maybe chill and let her find her character first.
Honestly, though, I feel like that is a good decision.
There is absolutely a Nasuna script, but
so
it's probably not
funny.
that's probably not going to be the one that'll be made if she ever does want a lore video. I'm ready to go. If Nasuna ever wants a lore video, I'm like ready to jump on it immediately. But I'm taking it chill, you know. Like I'm focusing on the EN girls for now, because a lot of them still don't have lore videos. Like we have Silver and and Fruit don't have lore videos yet, and Melody doesn't have a lore video yet either. So we're going to be doing them first, at least.
Also, Melody's going to get her own. So the racing video, that was more of a teaser and not a.
Yeah, the racing video wasn't a proper installment. So
I'd always wondered that.
Yeah, no, it's not a proper installment. It's a mini story in between. Um, it's just a teaser. It's a small mini version. It's a mini lore video, which is funny because it's 8 minutes long. That would be a mini lore video, but it's a mini lore video, and I forgot that Melody doesn't have her own video. She was such an important part of Zentreus. Yeah, she was actually. She was very much a big part of Zentreus, and that's what I want to do more of, because as we're moving on and as we're making these stories more complicated, um, it it's kind of like in Marvel, you know how even after Iron Man 3, Iron Man continued to be like main character in other movies. Like he was a big part of Spider-Man, and he was a big part of Spider-Man, and he was a big part of Avengers moving forward, and even Captain America Civil War and stuff, continued to be kind of a main character. So even if, say, Vebe has had her lore video, she continues to be an important character within the world. And the lore videos are getting long enough that we can focus on several characters. And that's why I really wanted Melody to be a big part of Zentreus. Because if it was only Zentrea, and if she was just fighting some robot menace that we don't know anything about, that has nothing to do with any of the girls, that would be kind of boring. But we made Melody the villain, which I think is far more fun. It is the fact that these girls are these girls, most of them have the capacity of evil. At least like Iron Mouse, Nyanas, Vebe, Fruit. Not so much Silvervale. I think Silvervale is pretty like lawful good in terms of this universe, but a lot of the girls have this capacity of evil, especially Melody, who has this Dr. Jekyll and Mr. Hyde thing going on with Merryweather. And I like to call, every time I've talked to Melody, like publicly since her lore video, I've always referred to her as Merryweather, because she's Merryweather right now. Did you know?
I did know that, but I don't know how much of the good old audience here knew that canonically she's currently Merryweather, and not only Merryweather, but correct me if I'm wrong, she's Merryweather from Zentrea's timeline.
She is genocidal, planet destroying, like humanity, like genocidal malware from the far future in Zentrea's timeline. And Melody is stuck in cyberspace. Like
So-
none of the streams you guys have watched for the last few months have been actually Melody. That's my canon, at least.
I know that the whole malware and I'm not sure if it's evil mouse or just different mouse that came over with her. Is that I really like those characters being introduced to the storylines, because for like I think that's probably why Zentrea's video in particular, and kind of by extension Melody's mini lore, because I feel like they tie together extremely well, became my favorites, is because now before that each one was kind of like an episodic story to me. Like they were still very awesome, very intriguing, but now that Merryweather is like Merryweather and Mouse are like potentially the big antagonists to a story, is so fascinating to me. And actually, one thing I wanted to really ask about Zentrea's timeline in particular, are we ever going to go back and discuss what happened over there? Is that maybe something that we get to see a little bit more about? Because I know personally, I'm really wondering, like, how Melody essentially beat everybody.
Well,
Because
Melody, that like how Melody is capable of having so much power. I guess you'll get to know about that at some point soon. But yeah, Melody has the capacity to be like god level strong because of her programming. Like she is technology incarnate. Her programming, like her processing power, is beyond anything on Earth in lore. And yeah, Melody's kind of goofy. She's a little bit she uses it for porn and stuff, but she is legitimately, like, if she knew how to, it's kind of like do you know Inspector Gadget? Have you ever
Yeah.
watched Inspector Gadget? There's this one episode of the old Inspector Gadget where they flip a switch in his brain and make him smart,
Such a good episode.
and immediately he knows how to use all of his gadgets and he becomes super overpowered. That's kind of like Melody. Is that if Melody was like if Melody had the will to use the will and the the attitude to use all of her powers like with the full capacity that they're capable of, Melody could legitimately like fight against Vebe, who is at this current moment the strongest of the Bishoujo girls.
Interesting.
Because she is full power demigod. That is Vebe. But yeah, we know that Melwer killed Vebe. So that's pretty insane when you think about how fucking powerful Vebe is. That Melwer was capable of killing like Vebe and turn her into like this like
cyber dragon,
metallic cyber dragon. Yeah.
I honestly didn't catch that immediately when I saw the dragon. I'm like, why? What is this? And then on a rewatch, I'm like, oh.
It's Vebe's cameo.
Though, actually, speaking of cameos, why was Fruit left alone in Zentrea's timeline? Like, she's just kind of there.
Okay, so Fruit is a lich, and liches are kind of in between the human world, and they draw their power from the underworld. The underworld and hell are kind of two sides of the same place, which is the bad afterlife.
Right.
But we're gonna get to that. That's
okay,
like something.
So that's coming. That's coming.
That's something we can do. Like the whole hell thing and what's going on with hell and stuff. That's a whole like can of worms we gotta open at some point.
I was gonna ask about that because especially with the ending of Heavenfall and then subsequently the Melody video.
Yeah,
it seems like there's a power struggle going on down there because if other mouse is here now,
is. I mean, we know for a fact that like when one queen, like when one regent leaves to like basically abdicates the throne and another takes the place, and then that regent also abdicates the throne. We know for certain there's gonna be some political upheaval and stuff, and hell is no different. There's definitely power struggles going on in hell, caused by the fact that that both the king and queen of hell immediately one after another left, which are the only kings and queens that hell has ever known. Like they went from following Booby to following Iron Mouse. Iron Mouse leaves, then Booby takes back power. Kind of unstable, but okay. Then Booby leaves. Now there's just a kingdom of hell, and no one knows how to run it. So yeah,
see that concept is personally fascinating to me, especially if the other mouse is here now, who seems like she canonically chose to stay in hell in Zentrea's timeline, and but then also we have I don't know how much of an impact this cameo was supposed to have, but Corpse Husband, as I think you called him a void demon, showing up.
Yeah.
So that particular storyline, I really hope we get to see more of.
Yeah,
that's super fascinating.
I mean, if we added it, that means that there's intentions to continue.
Oh, so, that's good to know.
But barring anything unexpected happening, I do intend to continue that storyline in Iron Mouse's trilogy finale, which is coming probably next year.
Oh, that's so cool. I'm super excited for that.
Oh, I'm fucking excited too, dude. Are you kidding me? I get to write fan fiction for a living. That's so fucking awesome, dude.
You're living every fanfic writer's dream right now.
Hell yeah. Like, it's so fun because they give me a big budget, pre-established characters with like really like in-depth kind of designs that are very personal to this, but like these are proper fleshed out high budget design original characters with backstories and stuff. And it's like this is beyond what I could do with a comic universe. Like, I would not be able to invent all of these characters within a comic universe and have them all be as fleshed out and have people care about them as much as they do these girls. Like, people care about Nyanas, people care about Vebe, about Zentrea, about Fruit, about Silvervale, about Melody. People care about them. They hold deep personal, because these are VTubers that people interact with every day.
They are. And
sorry.
bless you.
These are VTubers that people interact with every day. These are very much VTubers that people have like a personal connection to, that people love and appreciate and support. And and putting them in these different situations, it hits harder than if I was to just make my own original characters. Plus,
agree.
it's like it's really cool. It is really, really cool, and I think it's something that makes VShoujo special, more special than most agencies. Most agencies don't put a lot of emphasis on lore. You can look at Hololive, and yeah, they have Holomyth. Holomyth is cool, but most of the time they don't do anything that much with lore. But,
I've noticed that's a pretty big thread. Like Hololive's been a little bit better about it than the other big one, Niji Sanji, but it feels like they use lore to establish a baseline and then that's it, which I appreciate still, but
yeah.
That is something that is definitely unique to VShoujo and like even some of the other videos that I know you've produced for other VTubers. I even was maybe looking at getting one done myself sometime. But
we had a lot of people wanting to come and get lore videos for a long time.
I imagine that must have been a gold rush right there.
and actually, that is the fact that I've said yes to people has caused us to lose money, because we said yes to people back in December after the Mori Calliope lore video was produced, and right after the Nyanas lore video, we said yes to people back then, and we undercharged them due to our own inexperience in the field, which has caused us to lose money because we had obligations to fulfill, but we were spending more than we were earning on them, which is a bit unfortunate. But we got some good lore videos out of it, at least. Like Girl DM, RPR, got some decent lore videos out. Yes. But yeah. I also have my own lore video. I don't know if you've seen it.
Yes, I have seen it. I very much enjoyed your perspective of like you being I can't even find the words to properly convey my emotions towards it, but I felt a lot of similar themes when watching it, just like seeing your own struggle and your own acceptance of yourself in as the writer character. And I don't know, that it definitely touched me in ways I wasn't expecting. It's like, gosh dang it, you're not allowed to be this relatable.
Thank you. Yeah, I've heard that from a lot of people, that they felt that it kind of touched a nerve, which is a good thing, I suppose. Yeah.
I liked yours in particular because it was the same, setup with like the artwork and things, but the context I felt was just so much more different. And that kind of ties into what I think when lore is at its best, especially for VTubers, and when it is that personal. And it's you telling your story in the way that you want it to. And I think that's why it touched so many people, is because the story that you wanted to get out there resonated with a lot of people.
Thank you.
So.
Thank you very much. Yeah, I've got plans for a part 2 as well.
Oh.
So
I'm excited
for that one.
I'm
not quite sure how that'll. not quite sure, because I don't have 82 for it, but we'll see. It's gonna be nice when we get it.
Well, I will very much look forward to that.
Thank you so much. But yeah, the reason why Fruit is left over is because she's a lich. Heaven and Hell in Zentrea's timeline is blocked off because the angels don't really care, and Hell don't really care about the human world either that much. And when there's a massive super intelligent AI that's taken over the entire planet, it would probably make even the angels a bit nervous, because the angels aren't all powerful. They can be like Gabriel got beat up by a demon. Like, they're definitely less powerful than they like to act as if they are. They're definitely incredibly powerful, but they're not omnipotent. Yes.
Super interesting. Well, we've been going for a little while. The community did have some questions for you if you're still good to go on for a little bit more.
Yeah.
All right.
Happy to continue.
Excellent. We've for those who are in chat, in the pinned comment, there is a marshmallow for anyone who wants to ask Mary any questions. We've already got some people who've asked some, and some of these questions are pretty interesting.
Oh, what's your favorite lore video, by the way, of mine?
So, the favorite one that again, Zentreya's I think is my favorite, just because that's what to me, that's when I felt like the Vishoujo mythos really opened up into a lot of potential possibilities, because I'm kind of a sucker for time travel, I'll admit it. But I also love the tech stuff, and I don't know, that again, the Zentreya video is kind of when it really said in the, like, okay, there are so many different stories here that can be expounded upon, and I'm excited for all of them. So I think that's why it's my personal favorite. But nothing quite beats Nyanner's, the original Nyanner's, for me as well.
That one was a work of pure passion with eldritch horror, which is my favorite genre. So yeah, I really enjoyed Nyanner's as well.
Yeah. So, here's one of the questions from the marshmallow. What do the two of you think is the main difference between writing your own lore and someone helping / doing it for you? I'm not quite sure if Mary has guidelines to write from, or VTuber lore writers just do their own thing.
I have guidelines to write from. I definitely 100% write based on the prompts of. I remember Zentreya gave me like a movie length something that would have taken an hour and a half to create. I had to write that down. Actually, Zentreya's lore video script is twice as long as what actually got produced.
Really?
Yes. So there was a whole gecko invasion. She had very much requested the geckos to be part of it, and she wanted like her other selves, like her original general self, her dragon self. They also made an appearance as like alternate timeline, but in the end, it was like, okay, then we can try and do this, but it will lower the quality of the rest of the video substantially. And I think these are more fun for the these are more fun storylines for potentially the Vishoujo comic universe, which is more comedic and more about the streamer lore and stuff, like what happens in the streams, and like a little bit more comedic side to it. So I said also, looking back at it, I'm kind of glad we didn't do those, because it had definitely a far more comedic twist, and it kind of put a damper on the dark vibes of the Zentreya video.
Yeah.
I like it as it is. I like the Zentreya video as it is, but it could have been fun to see the gecko invasion, not gonna lie. But we just didn't have time to do both of them well, and honestly, like, it was already like, how long, 14 minutes long or something. Yeah. And we wanted time to do the art properly. So I'm kind of glad we went with this version that was primarily set in the future.
So has it been pretty consistent where people give you more material than you can use and you have to edit it down? But have you ever had anyone give you initially not quite enough to go off of? I feel like for those of us who have actually written out our own lore, it's always the trimming it down that's the harder part, not the coming up with
Yes.
more.
I would say that's kind of hard. They all had kind of a vibe they wanted. I think the one that stood out from the rest, because the others, so Nyana's, Alma, Zentreya, they all had kind of a vibe that they were going for already. They had like a general timeline. The one I followed the least is definitely Zentreya. That's the timeline I followed the least. Now she liked it. Zen liked
Interesting.
it, which is good. Like I, of course, sent the script to her. I told her my idea, and she approved it. But Zen had an entirely different lore video in mind than the one she ended up getting. That she I think. Oh, I don't. Maybe I shouldn't mention it. I don't think I can mention like the ideas she had in case she wants to use them in the future. But yeah, she definitely had other ideas than the ideas that we ended up getting in the lore video. Zen's was definitely more comedic and more colorful than the kind of dark and gritty vibes she ended up getting, but she liked it. She ended up liking it. And I remember one particular line, which wasn't even in her lore video, it was in Melody's mini lore video that she really liked, which was something akin to, I didn't think about how metal this line was when I wrote it initially.
I think I can
It
actually
was-
quote it.
Oh, go on. Give me.
If you do anything to harm humanity, I will destroy all iterations of you across cyberspace and the real world both, or something
the
like
physical
that.
realm.
Yeah.
Yes. I never considered how metal that line is until Zentreya posted a screenshot of her saying that line from the lore video. That is a pretty metal line, not gonna lie. I'm pretty proud of that one now.
That was pretty fantastic.
They but yeah, like hell yeah. What was it? Yeah, okay, so the one that stands out the most in terms of what they provided me before was probably Vebe. Because Vebe had a specific idea, but what Vebe had that the others didn't, which was kind of interesting, is Vebe had particular scenes in mind and how they played out in a very specific mood. Which, like, I thought to include those, of course. Like, I'm at the end of the day, I'm their writer. I gotta do what the client wants. I gotta do what the girls want for their lore video. It's their lore video. It's not my lore video at the end of the day. So I included those, and I like them. I like their inclusion. Some scenes with her and Silvervale were ideas of Vebe's that were almost to the point where they were written by Vebe. But I had to play around with the timeline of Vebe's a lot because I remember at first it took place over several years and there were time skips and stuff, kind of like Nyana's. But I think in the end, we ended up feeling like the time skips were not really necessarily necessary.
Right.
So we ended up just making it, all taking place around the same time frame. Yes.
Interesting.
Yeah.
But yeah, that's interesting that she had specific scenes in mind.
Like Vebe is quite particular. She's quite particular, and she had some really good scenes already planned out in her head that she and Silvervale had been thinking about, I believe. So some of Vebe's writing kinda is in her lore video.
That's I don't know. That's just a joy to hear to me.
Yeah, it's awesome, right?
I hadn't
I
hadn't really understood, because again, going back to something I said a little bit earlier in our conversation, is when I joined the VTubing sphere, I was more concerned with the technology, and I kind of ignored a lot of the normal VTuber norm stuff. Lore being one of the things I ignored. But
yes.
when I finally sat down to like start writing my own, it kind of changed my perspective on everything, and it makes me happy to hear about these scenes that were definitely probably very personal to Vebe and Silvervale in this case, made it through all made it through the whole process, and that kind of feeling that was obviously driven by them was kept intact. And I don't know, it's just heartwarming to me. I don't know.
Oh no, they like the lore videos are heavily personalized to each member. Like someone in chat, Codex North said, "Wonder how closely they work with them." Like we have a group chat, and they are part of the process every step of the way. They request all the stuff at the beginning. They request changes. They let me know what vibe they want to go for. I would say the one I'm most in sync with, vibe wise, is probably a split between Nyanas and Iron Mouse. Like I feel like they trust me very much with their lore, and especially Nyanas.
I remember you mentioning about Nyanners that was, correct me if I'm wrong, but that was one of the first times for like a big project that you've really been able to flex your muscles when it comes to that kind of Eldritch horror story. Like I know you've mentioned you've done it before, but for a project of this scale,
it's one of the few times in my time and in my life as a writer where I've gotten the opportunity to do a long form story, and then like the budget to actually do it without it causing me immense financial strain. And
kind of like a passion project that you're not punishing yourself to make.
yes,
It's kind of what it sounds like.
Yeah, pretty much. It was the first time where I actually got the. So here's the thing about short comics, which is what I'm often kind of limited to. The thing about short comics that people don't really realize is that it's very limiting. Writing a short story is much harder than writing a long story, and for that reason, it's harder for me to make a good short story than it is for me to make a good long story. Making a good long story is relatively easy for me. I can make something pretty good. And that's what I do with Bishoujo. I make long. I get to make my own little anime length episodes. Yeah, I'm kind of rambling right now, but yes.
I think it's fantastic. I mean, I think everyone in the chat here can show your love for Mary by barking in the chat for him to show your appreciation to all the wonderful effort you've put into these anime episodes. Oh, hey, speaking of which,
What?
Oh, that freaked out for a second.
Oh shit! It shows my Discord when I do that.
I think it's because I accidentally moved something.
Nah, it's fine.
So my bad there. My bad there.
It's okay.
All right, we got another question here. To both Merryweather and Raelice, content creation plays a big part in your lives, and you've both created a notable platform for yourselves. Do you have any advice for people who don't know how to approach content creation and how to integrate it into your daily life?
Just make what you want.
That's
okay. That's an oversimplification. What do you want to do? Like, what? Why do you? I think the first step is to ask yourself, why do you want to do content creation? What is it that you hope to gain out of it? Do you want popularity? Do you think it's fun to be someone in the spotlight? Do you want, which is fair, totally fair to want to be in the spotlight. A lot of people want to do that one. Like, do you want to entertain? Do you want to be in the spotlight and be an entertainer? Do you want to, do you have like things that you want to sit and meticulously, carefully craft and then put out there for people to kind of freak out about and enjoy while you lean back in your chair and enjoy this? Do you want to be very engaged with a community that are like kind of centered around you? Depending on what you want to do with content creation and depending on what, it could be entirely different things. So like if you want kind of a community and if you want to be very active in your community, I would say streaming might be for you. If you want something that would be more like if you want to kind of meticulously and slowly put things out, then I would suggest videos or comics or writing stories online. It entirely depends on what you want to do. So yeah, ask yourself, what is it you want out of content creation? And then find kind of your path through that. And it's okay to change paths. I know a lot of people who started out as one thing and then ended up being something entirely different as they went on. Like lo and behold, me, like I started out writing like novels on DeviantArt, and now I'm a VTuber, and we didn't even know what a VTuber was back then.
I
So
completely agree.
be ready to pivot, but yeah, always have in mind what it is you actually want out of content creation. Yeah.
I think that point is the single biggest thing to think about when you're doing content creation is really just that what is it that you want? Like why are you even considering this? Which for a lot of people, I feel like that there's an infinite number of reasons why you would want to start. But the big thing is you really need to figure out what keeps you continuing on.
Yeah, because content creation is it's a marathon. Like a lot of people always say, it's a marathon, it's not a sprint, but it really is. It really very much is. If you want to be a content creator, you're gonna have to find a way to do it where you're gonna be okay with not having more than like if you're a streamer, not having more than like 5 viewers for the first year, or even if it's something like writing, you're going to be okay. You need to be okay with not a lot of people wanting to read your stories at the beginning, and you need to find joy beyond success. Because if you can't find the joy in what you're doing beyond success, you're not going to be able to conjure up the willpower to continue. Success at the end of the line cannot be the thing that keeps you going. You have to find things that keep you going until you reach that point.
I think I can't recall the quote exactly, but if you can't enjoy what you're doing without a big paycheck, then you need to find the thing that you can enjoy before you start getting paid so that you can continue to enjoy it once you do start getting paid. Because if you try and find these, you have to have that burning desire to make whatever you're making, because no one can continue to make stuff that they don't want to. You'll just burn up incredibly quickly. At least that's my experience with a lot of friends that I've seen go through content creation. Is you got to find that reason that makes you create before any sort of success comes your way.
Yes.
So,
well,
yeah, great question. All right, our next one is, hello, this is an appreciation message to both you and Mary. Both you and Mary are amazing VTubers, and I've always wanted this collab to happen and that you are making it. I really love Mary and his content alongside yours, so this is the best thing I've ever seen. Woof Woof Kit Studios.
Woof Woof.
Thank you, Kit Studios. The next one is even in the same line. This one's for you, Mary. Can you do your best borking for stream? Beautiful. Uh-oh. Why is that showing?
Woof. It's fine. Just ignore it.
Yeah. All right.
It's just my DMs getting leaked again.
I mean,
There's
if you haven't
sensitive there, it's just names.
If you haven't leaked your DMs at least once in your career, are you really a streamer?
Yeah.
All right. So we covered this a little bit earlier, but question for Mary: how did you start at Merryweather Media? I was surprised it's based in Japan and wanted to know how you were able to start up a company there for all your projects, including voice comics and VTuber lore videos. So did you start it up after you'd moved to Japan, or did you start it up and then move to Japan?
I started it up while in Japan. I contacted a lawyer and then they set it up.
Oh, so you moved there first and then opened it.
Yeah.
Okay.
But I also had a guy willing and ready to work and manage it for me. So it wasn't just me. His name is Adrian, and he is very happy to be rid of teaching English. He manages all of our voice actors and stuff. So how did I get voice actors and things like that? That was through I knew after all, I went up and approached a massive amount of Japanese artists and basically pushed myself into the community that way by introducing myself to literally everyone in the scene. Um, and yeah, the whole thing is like, I saw that someone had a voice actor voice one of his characters in some like little doujin thing. And so I said, like, can you introduce me to that voice actor? I'd like a Japanese voice actor. They introduced me. I asked that voice actor, do you know people that also want to do voice acting? And they said, yeah, we know lots of people. Like, Japan is full of people who want to voice act and who like do it rookie style, who want to get found out, who are basically willing to take any job. And I'm like, well, I mean, we have a lot of comics that wouldn't take a lot of time to create, so to do voice acting for. So yeah, we're just running off the rookie scene basically.
Very nice. Very
Hell yeah.
nice. So
Whoop.
another question is why did you decide to work so much on lore, which I think is an interesting question. Because
Well,
I'll let you
we kind of
answer.
touched a little bit on it earlier. It's
Yeah.
just it's established characters that people already feel a lot for. It's people that you have already interacted with, that you already care about. It's a universe of characters such as this that have been put a lot of love, effort, and time into fleshing out on streams or in supplementary materials. Like when I say Zentrea, that means 1,000 things to me. I have memories of Zentrea's streams, of interacting with Zentrea, of things that Zentrea has been known for, of like Zentrea is a real person. Even if they're a VTuber, they're a real person. And so is Nyana, so is Iron Mouse. All of them have struggles, all of them have things that we can relate to. All of them have like fond memories of these different VTubers in these various different situations. And I think that's far more powerful than a lot of fictional characters can be. I think we care more about a VTuber such as Iron Mouse than we could ever fully care for a character such as, I don't know, Goku in Dragon Ball or whatever. Like, name X waifu, like Makima in Makima in Chainsaw Man, right? Or Makise Kurisu in Steins Gate. Yeah, sure, these are adorable characters that we care about, sure. But are they people that have like years online doing constant things? Are they characters that you can interact with? Are they people who you can see in good mood and bad mood, going through difficulty, or are they scripted in a select amount of scenes for a select amount of runtime in these very specific mediums? And I think VTubers are superior for character development, and VTubers are just superior when it comes to people wanting to consume a character. And I think that's why it's so successful, and why why VTuber merch sells so well, and why VTubers have become so popular. It is just that they are real fleshed out people at the same time as animated characters with a backstory and all of these different things. And getting to combine scripted content where we can have a lot of crazy stuff happen that probably couldn't happen on stream, with these pre-established characters, including things like Nyana's turning into a worm and milking herself. That's kind of funny. It's silly. It's goofy, right? But that is probably a fond memory. A lot of people probably came home from school or work that day, and they were in a bad mood or whatever, and then they tune in, and then this stupid fucking cat lady is milking herself on stream. That's pretty hilarious, and that might have cheered people up, and that might be a really fond memory for them. And so seeing Nyanas in these lore videos that are highly produced, they're scripted and stuff, but they refer and exist within this streamer universe as well. And Nyanas refers to the stream, and it is Nyana's voice, Nyana's whom they are so familiar with, who they watch stream every few days. It means a lot to people, and I think lore videos can and have the potential to be far more engaging and far more fun to watch for the fact that these characters are just so developed than anime in general can be. And moving forward, if VTubing continues to grow at the rate it's been growing, if VTubing continues to be like a thing that moves forward, then I mean we've already seen like really high budget animated videos like with Hoshio Marine. She had a really good music video, and Gorgura also had like a little mini anime episode that came out from Tonari Animation relatively recently. Moving on, seeing media like this of VTubers rather than fictional characters that are created in a writer's room or created by one manga artist, I think it could end up being superior.
I would tend to
It
agree.
it could totally end up being superior in terms of how people feel about it. Yeah.
For many of the points you mentioned, to me it really is because you get that double dip of you get this epic story that is also based off of their lives that you've, in some cases, if you've come back multiple times to the same person over and over, you've experienced a lot of that journey with them, that's not something you can do with an anime character. And
No.
so you get to have basically the best of both worlds, which is a strength that I don't think you can really replicate. It's such a unique style, and I agree. I hope that things continue moving forward like this, because we'll get to see, potentially more videos from you and Shoujo and more from other companies where, like, you did mention the Gura video, and even from the newest batch of Niji Sanji, his opening lore video was it was an anime opening, literally. I don't know if you've had the chance to see Aster Arcadia of Niji Sanji. His lore video
didn't get to watch Luna.
It's the same like level as Gura's animation.
Really?
It blew me away that his first thing was an anime opening. And so I really hope that we get to see this, because I think that, like you said, it offers the potential to have these expanded characters and also still get to enjoy interacting with them on a daily basis.
Yeah, that's pretty cool. I'm just watching it now. Yeah, yes. I think media involving VTubers definitely can last pretty long. Because you know what I think might happen in the future. I think it is entirely possible that someone like, say, Pekora Peko, that's her name, right? Peko?
Yeah.
Pekoyama Peko. No, that's Pekora. Pekora.
Oh.
Pekora.
As in Hololive Pekora?
Yes, that
Yeah.
Pekora. I think something that is likely going to happen at some point is virtual actors for anime. So instead of making up a completely new main character, you would have Pekora act as the virtual actor in an anime as the main character with a design based on her design.
That would be really cool.
That is, and then voiced by Pekora, obviously. Like, that is something that I see potentially happening in the near future.
That would be really cool.
Because that's like, they're already virtual idols. They already appear in commercials. They already appear in games. The next step is that they're going to that they would definitely become virtual actors, much like how famous movie actors, much how what's that girl who plays that, Margot Robbie, right? Like when Margot Robbie is in a movie, a lot of her fans watch it because it's Margot Robbie, right? But we don't really have that same. I know that there are people who watch shows because of famous voice actors in it, but it's not really the same level as when a famous actress or actor is in a movie, right? Like you can cast Chris Pratt in a movie and put him on the front page, and then people will watch Chris Pratt. They won't watch whatever this fictional character is. They have a deeper connection with Chris Pratt than they could ever have with the Jurassic Park boy or whatever, right? They like him because he's Star-Lord. He's all of these characters. He is Chris Pratt, and all of these different characters that he's played has kind of become part of his like mythos at this point. And people like the actor, and they want to see the actor and all of this kind of stuff. And the next logical conclusion to this is virtual VTuber avatar actors, where we are going to have Pekora Peko, maybe not in that hairstyle, but like styled after a main character, and then voicing that main character and playing that character. And then the actor is contributed to Pekora Peko. Much like in games, how we have like famous actors, like in Cyberpunk, we had Keanu Reeves, right?
Right.
Playing Johnny Silverhand.
I'd never thought about it like that, but that is such a fascinating extension. That when you say it like that, that does seem like a pretty logical next step.
Yeah. No, some people it's not about body tracking or whatever it is. It's about like imagine a 2D animated anime, just as any anime you've seen before, except the main character, rather than just being a voice actor, it is literally voiced by Pekora, and the main character looks like Pekora, except maybe the main character has a different name. But then in the credits, it says, this actor played Pekora. This actor played this character, and then the actor is Pekora. That's what I mean.
Oh, that's such a fascinating possibility.
Yeah, I think that's entirely possible. I think a lot of people would watch. I think that would be a really good way to get people to watch. And yeah, like you could. It's pretty easy to figure it out. You might wonder like, oh, but then they're gonna be able to sell merch of Pekora and stuff like that. No, I mean, if you make a unique Pekora version design just for this anime, like if you style her hair in a certain way or you give her a certain outfit, then you can easily make a contract that says like this iteration of the character is allowed to be monetized by this company. But the main Pekora still belongs to Hololive, of course.
Yeah, I mean, that's not too much different than like how movie merch comes out, right? Like if you wanted Chris Pratt, using Star-Lord as an example, Chris Pratt as Star-Lord on a shirt, that's licensable, but you wouldn't be able to just go put Chris Pratt his normal face on whatever you wanted.
Yeah, or like it's also company, like Chris Pratt can sell merch of his own face on stuff, but he can't sell merch with Star-Lord on it.
Yeah, exactly. Man, that's such a fascinating viewpoint that I'll be honest, I hadn't really even considered that. But it sounds so natural. Like the next natural extension.
Yeah, I think so. I think that's the next big thing. I think we're gonna see a virtual actor within the next few years. Yeah, if not soon. Maybe like oftentimes I think to myself, oh, when's the next big thing? And then it's like a week later. So who knows? But you heard it here first. I'm calling it now. That's gonna happen. I'm predicting it now. So you can go back and play this, and then call me a prophet. Woof.
True.
No, not spin-offs in a way. I'm not talking about Pekora. Oh, it's annoying me. Okay, listen. I'm not talking about Pekora being the main character of an anime based on her lore. I'm talking about Pekora voice acting a character, and then the character is based on her VTuber design. So it's like it's like Pekora shows up. Imagine Pekora in the real world shows up and then, acts for a camera, except it's all 2D. That's what I'm talking about.
Yeah, it's all set within that virtual environment.
Yes.
So I think the best way to probably explain it is that from a dedicated fan of Pekora, you could definitely tell that it was Pekora. Yeah. But it's, she's in a different outfit, different hairstyle.
So sorry, I have to interrupt you. Yes, like the Hatsune Miku anime. Have you seen that Hatsune Miku was like made to play a voice actor?
Yeah.
They took Hatsune Miku's, exactly like that. That is the first proto example of what we're going to see with that.
Yeah.
Woof. Woof.
Oh,
Anyway, sorry.
No, you're good. You're good. Here's another question. What do you think about cats besides Raelice?
I'm allergic.
I remember you mentioning that.
Yes.
It's okay. I'm hypoallergenic. You're fine around me.
Pog. Pogus.
I'm definitely not hypoallergenic, but you know, don't tell him, everyone. Okay, here's a good one. What advice would you give to people hoping to make one day what advice would you give to people hoping to one day make a career out of writing?
I mean, the same as before, pretty much. Okay, one day make a career out of writing. Start short stories. A lot of people, they want to jump straight into the space opera. That's a terrible idea. You're not going to go far with that. You want to start short stories so that you know how to create an ending to a story. You get far more out of, because I think a trap that a lot of new people fall in, and I've definitely fallen into it as well, back when I was starting out, was writing chapter 1. It's really tempting to just write a few chapters and then not write an ending because the artist fell off or whatever it is. When you do that, you actually lose the opportunity to learn a lot about how stories are told and how story beats should be. By trying to find a satisfying ending to a short story, you learn far more than trying to write the beginning of One Piece, basically. Anyone can do the beginning of a long story. It's not that hard to set up it's not that hard to throw up a bunch of balls. It's hard to catch them. That's the thing.
I know I've definitely fallen into that trap when back in my fanfic writing days. I can't tell you the sheer volume of chapter 1s I've written, and I can count on one hand the final chapters of anything I've ever written.
Very much same, yeah. Actually, I've run into these issues many a times, and the biggest issues I've always had was and I've seen this happen to other writers in the past. I've seen people be like, hold on,
Bless you.
sorry. So I've seen people do like they do episode 1 of something, like chapter 1 of a manga. They throw up a bunch of balls, introduce like a massive amount of their OCs in like 30 pages or something, and then they put a link to a Kickstarter, and they're like, if you want to see more, go fund me, right? Give me money. If you want to see more, help me pay for it. And in theory, you should think, okay, that makes some sense, because that's in a way like a trailer. You're like pitching it, and then but no, that doesn't make sense, because you're not giving them anything worth getting attached to. It's kind of like those shitty anime where it's like episode 1 just says like all the rainbow hair girls. You ever seen one of those anime, Raelice?
Yes.
Episode 1 just starts out introducing like 50 girls with like different rainbow colored hair, and like we don't get to know any of them. The best anime always start out with like 3 characters. I don't know if you've noticed. Like those are always the ones with polish. Then we have the ones that are just meant to churn out fucking character goods, character merch, and those are the ones that are like based on some visual novel where there's like 50 romance routes you can go on. We got to put all of the characters in episode 1. We barely get to know the names of any one of them. We just see like all the different colors of hair because they got to be easily distinguishable, because the character designers took the easy route when it came to distinguishing them from one another, because they didn't want to put any effort into actually making distinguishable designs. Yeah. That's the whole thing. It's really easy to do that. It's really easy to have like a chapter 1 that throws up a bunch of balls in the air that you don't think about how to catch, introducing a massive amount of characters that you don't give enough time to the audience to really know or care about, and then you're just like, give me money to make more. No one's gonna give you money. I think he had like, the person I remember doing that, he had like $4 on his Kickstarter. It was really depressing.
I kind of live by the moniker of keep it simple, stupid. Like,
Yeah.
which I feel like translates really well to
Simplicity is beauty.
just because if anyone can understand your story, I feel like you've done a really good job. Like,
Yeah.
because there's something to be said for, if you really enjoy super complex writing and everything, that's fine. But making sure that the point that you wanted to get across is the one that got across is such a underrated skill, in my opinion. And I think that that's something that even those who like aren't primarily writers like myself, like that's a tenet that you can really live by that can feed into a lot of other areas, is as long as you can keep it simple and you don't have to throw the world at someone who's just stepping into it. There's a lot to be said for just giving people as much as they can handle, but
Yes.
and not too much more.
Yes.
Oh, okay. We got another question about Zentreya's universe here. If the Iron Mouse from Zentreya's universe came to rule the current universe's hell, doesn't that leave her own hell without a ruler?
Yes and no at the same time.
Oh. Okay, this actually...
The way hell doesn't... Okay, so hell doesn't work like the human world in terms of like different dimensions and stuff. It's more like... It's more fluid than that. It's kind of hard to explain, and I haven't really gotten into it yet, and we will get into it eventually. But yeah, the human world has like different timelines and stuff, but hell and heaven as ethereal realms are far more constant. It's kind of like how the metaphysical concept of death exists across all timelines simultaneously and cannot be altered.
Interesting.
But obviously, like, the human condition and the things that happen in our world can easily be altered. The material realm can easily be altered. The world of concepts and ethereal beings are not quite attributed to timelines in the same way. It's kind of difficult to explain. So yeah, there are multiple Iron Mouses, but it's not in terms of timelines like how we view it. It's more like, I don't know. I haven't gotten that far yet.
Sounds good.
I have vague ideas of how to do it. I haven't sat down and figured it out yet, but I have a good idea of where it ends.
Well, I'm personally excited to see where you go with it, because I think that's the great thing about the concepts that are kind of bigger than, like, larger than life, is there's not really a right or a wrong way to go about it. There's just a lot of different angles that you can come at it from, and the angle that you would come at it from is not the same one that I would do. But I kind of enjoy that aspect more of seeing how these ideas that really can't be contained, at like just seeing the different angles that people can approach them from.
Yes.
Well, but I think we're gonna end on one final question for you. What is your... Hold on. Okay, sorry, this question was written a little different. What is the project that, given an unlimited budget, you would take on?
An unlimited budget. Probably a VTuber agency.
Oh, starting your own?
Yeah.
Interesting.
An unlimited budget, I would probably make my own VTuber agency. The reason I haven't so far is actually budgetary limitations. It's expensive to do so. A wave of members, like four new members, with like assets for all of them and models for all of them, and then advertising them as well, and then hoping that it doesn't just cannibalize my own audience. That is too much.
Yeah,
What?
That does sound... Yeah, I don't even want to know how much it would cost to start up a wave like that, especially in the way that, like, I personally would want to begin a wave. But that's interesting. Your own VTuber agency. Who knows? Maybe one day that'll be on the cards for you.
Yeah, that would be cool. Like, we could probably do it pretty well, honestly. Like, we have the lore, we have the arts, we already have the infrastructure set in place to do something like that. We probably could do it very incredibly well. There are obviously problems there are issues to tackle with doing something like that, but we totally could. We totally could do that. Woof.
Well, if that ever does happen, you better believe that I'll be watching it unfold.
Yes.
But
But right now, my focus is Shoujo
well,
for the foreseeable future, as long as this lasts.
you gotta ride that wave while it's still going, right?
Yeah, like I don't see them wanting indefinite amounts of lore videos. Although sometimes I do think that could be a potential thing, because every time I think I'm done for a little while at least, then another 5 projects prop up. Every time I think we're about to have a break, then another bunch come up, and everyone's constantly redebuting and changing things and getting new outfits and stuff. Honestly, like, if it could last forever, but I don't think I would want it to last forever. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I think the Vishoujo lore universe is a really good thing, and I think it's definitely some of the best writing and best work I've ever participated in creating. And I think it deserves an impactful ending. I don't think it deserves a slow burnout with unsolved plot threads. That's what I think.
I agree. I personally prefer it when a story ends before you want it to, but like on its own terms, because then the impact, I don't know. I every story that like has ended and I've wanted more, I feel like means that it was ended in a good place. I would never want a passion project to be at the point where we ended it because it stopped working. Because I feel like it probably died a little bit before it got to that point.
Yeah, like so far I haven't run into the issue of like I wrote a lore video that I'm really not happy about. So far that has not happened yet. I honestly I quite like all of them, all of the lore videos I enjoy.
That's great to hear.
But yeah, like the way I see it is, there is like a current arc going on clearly in the lore videos. We have some plot threads that have been set up over multiple lore videos, and we have some things going on, and the current plot threads definitely have kind of an impactful finale that I'm planning to write out. Beyond that, I don't know if we will start another bunch of plot threads or if we will sort of let it end on that climax. But if it continues beyond that, if for an example, what I can imagine happening is that we have a big climactic kind of finale. That's what I want personally. Now, I haven't gotten any of this approved yet, keep in mind. We'll see. But that's what I personally want. I would want like a big epic climactic thing, and we'll see if the stars align for that. You know, like these lore projects are incredibly expensive to produce. I gotta be honest. Like it's, I can say this because the girls have already said it multiple times on stream. They cost about $20,000 per video to produce, and a lot goes into these videos. And to do something like that would require an even higher budget. So obviously there are things like that to take into account, and the fact that we would need way more time than before to do so.
Yeah.
So yeah, at the end of the day, that's kind of the thing. And if we were to continue beyond that, it would either have to be more focused on the individual VTubers with a little bit of cameo work, or it would have to like go back to kind of early Iron Mouse, early Nyanas, you know, not so much Centrea, where it's like bigger stuff. I also think something that's easy to kind of fall into, which is a trap that Marvel has fallen into many times, is focusing too much on hype rather than actually telling an engaging story. Marvel has run into that where people are more interested in the cameos, and like the cameos obviously hype people up. Like when you're sitting and watching Yana's lore video and then Iron Mouse shows up, that's obviously really exciting because you don't expect it. And getting like it's kind of like getting two cakes for the price of one, you know? You didn't expect that you would get even more, but you got it. But doing too much of that and focusing too much in on that, it's like I could write a lore video that is essentially just cameos, and people would probably love it. People would probably eat it up. But would that be an engaging story? Would that be something that people remember? That's the thing. Would that be something where people are like, whoa, that had some really epic moments, I want to go back and watch that? Or is it then more like a thing where expensive, or is it then more like the Marvel thing where it's just basically watching, like paying to watch these big actors roleplay with each other in various scenarios because you like the actors, right? Like that's the thing. Do we want to tell a story, or do we want to do a scripted collab fest? And I think people want a story. I think people think they want the cameos, but I think at the end and they will. But the cameos are sprinkles. The story is the main dish.
I think that's why I enjoy the way that you've done cameos in your videos, is mostly because we don't know what's going to be there yet. And so the cameos are, like you said, the sprinkles are that addition to the story. And that's why I feel like you've managed to strike a really good balance with the cameos that do appear. They have purposes and they're very fun to see as a viewer, but they're not the draw themselves of the video.
Yes.
So I definitely agree with you there.
Thank you.
But I just wanted to say thank you so much for coming on and talking about all your projects and things. I know I'm very passionate about learning about them. And this has been just such a delight to get a more behind the scenes look at kind of everything that goes on in some of the other projects, about the universe in general and your projects yourself. And for those of you in chat who aren't subscribed to Merryweather, go do that now. You better go subscribe to him. He's an amazing person, obviously, based off of everything that he's done here today. And yeah, once again, I just wanted to say thank you so much for coming out here and doing this. It's been an absolute blast.
Well,
Thank
you for having me, Raelice. I'm sorry, I'm rather tired. Do you have anything you'd like to ask before we go?
Let's see. Should I bust out one of the juicier questions that you'll probably say you can't answer?
Go ahead. Do it.
Okay. Are there any specific with Corpse Husband in general, or in specific, with his tiny cameo, the burning question I have had is, how did Gabriel get down there from heaven? Why is he down there? And how did Corpse drag him down there?
Well, the interesting thing about Corpse and what he is in the story is that Corpse appears to neither be a demon nor an angel, yet he is in hell. And
interesting.
The hint with that is that the fallen angels, the demons, they are not native to hell. They are the result of angels being thrust down to hell and then malformed by being in hell. Their angelic powers stripped away, and then instead it's demonic powers flowing in, which is just radiation from the underworld. So everything we see as hell is and all the demonic presences there, they are not natives to hell. They are basically colonizers of hell. So who is native to hell? That is the question. What is
Ooh.
what are the native species that who created hell? Why is hell there if there wasn't a hell? Like if it was just an empty abyss before the angels came, then what was there before? And why is hell a thing? All of these questions are implied by Corpse's appearance. Hell belongs to death alone, he says.
Fascinating. That's
Yes.
something I hadn't considered, that Corpse was a native of hell.
Yes.
Oh, okay.
Well,
That's
well,
gonna give me
I'm
something
not
to
saying
chew
he
on.
is. I'm not saying he is a native of hell, but I'm definitely saying that he is neither demon nor angel, clearly, and
Interesting.
that all demons are just fallen angels. They're not from, you know, they're not actually from hell.
Interesting. Oh, that's gonna give me something to chew on for a while.
Yes.
Oh. Well, thank you so much for answering all these questions, Mary. I'm sorry that we didn't get to everyone who put in a marshmallow question. There's a lot more in there. A lot more than we could answer, even if we had a couple more hours. But I don't want to keep you too long, because I know it's quite late in your time zone.
Yes.
But
I'm gonna
once
go
again,
sleep.
thank you so much for joining. And like I said, everyone who hasn't subscribed to Merryweather, please go do that now. Please support all his projects. He's doing amazing things. But
Arr.
for now, wherever you are in the world, hope you have a good
Woof
evening.
woof.
And we'll see you all later. Bye-bye.
Bye bye.